The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Westside Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Has seen 13 races, 16 different cars, and 4 countries over 3 continents. 140 drivers have competed to prove themselves not just the fastest, but the most enduring, the bravest, the grittiest, the most clever, and above all, the most versatile. The breadth and width of the motorsports world has been thrown at them and whittled it down to a final 3. 3 drivers determined to be known as the best all-around sim racers. But one final competition stands between themselves and the much sought-after Mario Andretti Drivers' Championship Trophy. A combination of track and car lays before them with daunting presence. The V8 supercar, known for its immense power, diabolical handling, and rough-and-tumble style of racing. Mount Panorama Circuit, a track so renowned in its difficulty that it goes by a single-word nickname, the Mountain. This pairing has tested, disillusioned, and beaten real-world drivers for nearly 80 years. So to be able to call themselves the best, they must face off in this Hall of Legends, in this Hall of the Mountain King. Who will have the know-how, the guts, and the skill to take the crown? Today we name a champion. You're watching the Bathurst 500, the final round of the 2017 Pacific Majors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight, as always, is Bill Soup Zahn. Next to him is our resident V8 supercar expert, Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Bathurst seems to either excite or scare drivers. It seems kind of appropriate with Halloween fast approaching.
Joe, Mount Panorama is for all intents and purposes a street circuit. Large sections of this course are lined by temporary concrete walls that transform public roads and house driveways to an unforgiving 4-mile track. The V8 supercars are probably most well known for calling this place home, but thanks to iRacing, you can find all types of cars running on this virtual version of this 23-turn track. And if the name didn't make it obvious, one of the distinguishing aspects of this place is its elevation changes. Up and down the mountain, you'll be dealing with the rises and dips all over the place. The biggest worry for our drivers tonight will be the blockage on track early on. We'll have to watch out for that. But after that, the fastest drivers will be those that dare to race closest to the racing edge. But to really give you a feel for just how scary this place will be, let's go on board for the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman, the GSRC Holden, so let's do a lap around Bathurst. Coming down the front stretch, first up is Hell Corner. You can try passes into here, but it's probably better to wait until after. That's because right off the bat, you've got this critical 90-degree left-hander. If you get a bad exit out of here, you're going to lose speed all the way up the mountain straight. However, if you need a chance to relax, take it now, because you won't get it for a long time once we start climbing the hill. Now we hop the crest, and then right away you're braking for Griffin's Bend, which is only turn 2 in this 23-turn track. This corner is deceptively fast, but it's off camber, so it's easy to push wide into the outside wall on the exit. Now you start to get a feel for the rise in elevation as we head for the cutting. Tricky braking with this little kink, and then the car climbs up the astonishingly steep left-hander. Now we start to veer back right around Quarry, which requires incredible precision and really punishes mistakes. Same thing when we hit the top of the hill at Frog Hollow. You've got a series of really fast left-hand bends here with zero runoff, so push the limits at your discretion. It all culminates at McPhillamy Park with this super blind entry and a sand trap that does little to slow the car if you find yourself drifting wide. Immediately you've got to switch left and set up for Skyline. You're chucking the car into the S's on the faith that you can get it slowed in time for the dipper. This drop is really going to rotate the car, so be wary of how soon you get on the gas. After some more S's, you'll stay as far right as you can through turn 17 to set up for the painfully tough Forest Elbow. Curved braking zone, a patience-trying late apex, no runoff, and you're dumped onto the longest straight of the whole track. This is, of course, the Conrod Straight. You're going to go on a roller coaster ride of plunging all the way down the mountain, compressing, and then coming back up over the crest. By this time, you're approaching the Chase, which is the fastest right-hand corner of all of Australian racing. You'll hit around 180 miles an hour, just lift a little, then throw out the anchor for the chicane. This is much trickier than you'd expect. The combo of hitting your braking point accurately and coming up over a blind rise on exit makes it difficult to nail. Now we head for Murray's Corner. This is a good place to try to get a pass in, but it's also pretty deceptive for a 90-degree turn. The high curb means it can unsettle the car and send you spinning into the pit wall. But if you survive the whole way, you finished a lap around Mount Panorama. Well, if that onboard didn't scare you, then I'm not sure that you have much of a pulse. And I have to apologize to Bill Zahn for taking away his musical reference, but I hope you've got something good to get us up to date on the points.
I do. As you mentioned in your, what I'm going to say, your streamy award-worthy Hall of the Mountain King opening there, 3 drivers are still in the hunt for the Drivers' Championship. Now, this being the Halloween season, what better a magic number for points leader Lionel Callisto than 13? A 13th place finish for Little Train will make him a mathematically lock for the championship. Blake Reynolds and Joshua Wolf won't be able to catch him. Now, despite 6 wins this season, 2 missed oval events is the reason that Reynolds has not wrapped things up. Grizzly Motorsports has made an impact in their debut season, Joshua Wolf having the biggest claws for that team. Callisto's Alliance Racing teammate Brian Bennett sits in 4th, with Wolf's Grizzly Motorsports teammate Trevor Broom-Borowski in 5th. Let's go ahead and look at the team championship now. We talk about Callisto and Bennett's success for Alliance Racing. Honestly, it's been a 2-man team with the next highest scoring teammate sitting about 40th in the points. If the sky falls on Alliance, there's an outside chance that Elite West could still steal the crown, but don't count on that one. The real question is the final podium spot. Grizzly has a slim 17-point advantage over Alliance Evolution. Mountain West rounds out that graphic. Let's look at the Sportsman's division, where Trevor Clement sits 10th overall in the championship with a pair of top 5s. He's clinched this crown. Mark Herzog, Dee Palmer, Jared Morgan, and Stephen Paulison fill out the chart. Over to the Gray Power class, where Brian Bennett has a 1 win this season, and that's what's going to get him a good chance to win the Legends division. He got his win at Indy. The highest ranking Mountain West driver is Brian Barnes, 9th overall. He sits in 2nd. Wayne Hutchinson, Bob the Salami Beltrami, and Rob Gall shuffle up positions possibly by season's end. Now to my personal favorite, the Governor's Cup. The Northwest Club is safe in the lead. Now, ever since Joe Peak moved from Ohio to Colorado, the West has really improved as they sit in 2nd. Now, while the top 2 positions are pretty much locked in there, that's not the case for the final podium spot. It's a cage fight between politicians, Greg Abbott and Jerry Brown. Now, since Abbott is 60 years old and Jerry Brown is 80 years old, the smart money is on the Texas youngster to pull that one out. Look for Texas to finish 3rd, California to finish 4th. Canada goes 5th. And once again, I get the honor of setting another GSRC record for commenting on the largest point gap on an overlay, as the Great Plains is only 7,219 points out of the lead. Finally, let's honor the individual club titles. Everyone on this has locked it up for their club except for Josh Thompson, who sits 6th overall for the West. He's in a tight battle with Richie Hearn, 1 spot ahead of Matthew Thunhurst for the Great Plains. And how about a tip of the hat to Claude Noval, a very respectable 17th overall for Canada. Okay, Joe, no tricks, only treats. All 6 championship races reviewed in a timely fashion, and I didn't even have the advantage of any cool background music.
All right. Well, speaking of having advantages, Sean, you've raced in the V8 Supercar quite a bit here on iRacing, and some of these guys might not have had that much time in this combination. What are the big things they really need to look out for here today in this 81-lap race?
Every square inch of this track, Joe. If they haven't practiced, they better be scared to death. Honestly, this is not only, in my opinion, one of the tougher vehicles to wield around iRacing. This is one of the more tougher tracks to do it on. First of all, it really all starts with just getting the race started and down into Quarry. Quarry is a nightmare. If you don't hit the braking zone just right in this car, you will collect the wall on the very first lap out to the left there. If you miss the turn in there at Quarry, it's such like I said, it's just a nightmare getting down there. But Then you have to get through the cutting, which you get the car back up to speed going up the hill. You have to make a very, very sharp hairpin there in the cutting to the left, and then you climb the hill. And as you're climbing the hill, the car wants to slide off the track, and the rest of the trip up the top of the mountain is basically all about trying to keep the car somewhere near the center of the track. You get out too far to the right, or you cut a corner too tight, you're going to be in a wall, or we were talking about this in the pre-race. If you're off the track, you're probably wrecking the car. And then there's the S's, and the fact that there's no room left or right there, and if a car gets turned around, we talked about blockage in the opening. That's a problem. If the cars are blocking the track, and Mike Willette's already said that we'll throw a red flag if needed if there's a severe blockage of the track here early in this race. So lots of trouble to be found. And then, of course, out of Forest Elbow, down through the Dipper and then out of Forest Elbow, always trouble there because you're starting to come down the mountain. Again, you're in the hard braking zones and then trying to get power back to the car. The walls come up very closely and can present many, many dangers to these guys. And we'll have to watch that all night. It's a long race, Joe.
Certainly is. Speaking of long, it's been a long season as well. And the 13 rounds that they have completed in this 14-round season, they've ran 67,503 laps. That is a lot of racing over a lot of different disciplines, and just goes to show you how devoted these guys are to try and winning this championship. The three that are in it, as we watch one of them, Josh Wolf, take off to the sand there in the outside of the cutting, or excuse me, of the chase rather. And Trevor Vorosky, his teammate, continuing on after that to finish another of his practice laps. It's going to be an interesting one. Callisto's been second a number of times, Bill. He's tried so hard to win the championship. I want to say this is the closest he's been to wrapping one up in this series.
Yeah, I'll bet you that if he had the choice of tracks to not have to wrap one up on, it would be Bathurst, because this is the type of track where you can't find disaster. Now, there are fast repairs in this series, so he has to find it not only once but twice, but my goodness, what are we doing, 81 laps? That's a lot of times around this place to keep the car going straight. So many things can go wrong. Plus, we kind of touched on a little bit, it's so narrow that if there's an issue on the track, these cars are pretty big. The track can get blocked. There's a chance we could even see a yellow flag thrown. That's something we don't get to see very often on a road course, but there are some stewards. If we have a blockage, they could throw that, and who knows what that means.
And actually, the stewards have said they will throw a red flag, so it sounds like they will restart the race if they find that there is a blockage, because they want to make sure that everything is fair for everyone out there. And a blockage, of course, kind of really makes it a little bit lopsided of a race. Yep. Well, if you're enjoying the pro split in this series, we also have the amateur split, the sportsman split, as they call it. Claude Belval showing a little bit of that sportsman spirit there, heading down into the Forest Elbow there. But the sportsman split is going to be covered on OC TV tonight, so go over and check that if you want to watch how they're doing. We've got a number of other drivers who are taking part in this, but this is the fastest drivers up here in ours, which are finishing up their last minute of warm-up before they take a standing start, mind you, Sean, to take on this 81-lap race.
Yeah, boy, that'll be exciting. Standing start there into the 90-degree left-hander to get the race started. Don't worry, folks. There's plenty of runoff that's actually kind of safe there. But, Joe, there is an incident limit in this race, and, well, you'd rather not pick any up on the opening lap of the race. Now, that incident limit, I'm trying to remember, it was 64 incident limit on that. I'm sorry, that slipped my mind there for a second. But, another thing is we haven't even really talked about the stints, Joe. But, I think what I'm hearing from some of the drivers in my practice experience, about 17 to 20 laps is going to be your window there in an 81-lap race. Well, kind of put the math together, and that's your pit window there.
Hey, Sean, let me follow up with you about the standing start. One of the things I've noticed when doing these broadcasting, drivers talk about practicing the standing start. It's not only just getting the car to go, but learning where the braking point is for the first corner, because you're not usually at the race speed. Do you think here at Bathurst, do you think they'd be up to a normal race speed heading into hell?
No. They're going to be a lot slower. So it's really all about what the guy in front of you is going to do. If you're up front, you're going to go full on into that front turn, but you'll be able to break deep there, and that's where you may see it kind of that accordion effect take over. Is that you may not be able to see that.
All right, well, let's go through the grid on the pole. It's going to be Brian Bennett, followed by Matthew Thunhorst. Blake Reynolds will be in row 2 with Jason Fleischle in 4th next to him. Lionel Callisto will start in 5th. Josh Wolf next to him in the 6th position. Brandon Chappell will start in 7th, followed by Trevor Clement in 8th. Trevor Vrosky in 9th, and Richie Hearn rounds out the top 10.
Clark Archer, Paul Slavonic, Michael Thompson, Claude Bivol, Mark Herman, Dale Green, Travis Henderson, Bart Workman, Rob Gall, and finally Brian Barnes, your next 10.
Okay, and then you got Bob Beltrami, Wayne Hutchinson, Christopher Sherburne, Brian McGreevy, and Ray Partridge rounds out this 25 Super V8 field.
We've seen a number of drivers strong in practice that may be a little bit farther down the field but come to the fore in race pace. Could we see Richie Hearn maybe get up there? We'll find out as the lights come up and we wait for the grid to take off from the line. Who's done their practice to get the wheel spin to a minimum? Oh, and our leader doesn't go. Our leader does not go. Finally, he gets it off the line. Amazingly, nobody gets into him.
Wow.
They spiraled down into hell corner. That is great heads up from everybody behind. Let's see if they can get through that first turn without any incidents. And they're clean. Wow.
Everybody makes it through the first turn clean, Joe. The whole field is underway here.
I did not expect that, and that leaves Matthew Thunhorst to take over the lead as they come into Griffin's, but he's under attack from Blake Reynolds. The driver who has won the most this season is already looking to add another to his tally. He knows he has to get this win to take away the championship, and he wants it bad. Looking around the outside of the cutting on the very first lap, Blake Reynolds somehow finds the grip and moves himself into the lead.
The good news is Callisto, our points leader, racing in 6th right now. All gone well so far as they work their way up the mountain the first time.
There's a slight squirm on the power for Reynolds coming out of the cutting, but as they come up to McPhillamy Park behind him, it's Thunhorst, Fleischle, Wolf, Chappell, and Callisto all line astern.
And Joe, Claude Belval started from the pit, so he's way off pace, 15 seconds already.
A lot of time to make up, but I have to imagine he'll get a few spots along the way. The mountain never goes without taking a few victims. They now hit Forest Elbow. Our leader smoking the tires coming into there. I have to imagine that the tires are a little bit of concern in how you treat them over the course of a stint, Sean.
Absolutely, Joe. You can't really beat these tires up tremendously. It's actually a very narrow tire.
Josh Wolf in 4th, very much under threat, as he's got the car of Brandon Chappell very close behind, coming down into the chase, almost gets into the back of him as he loses his brake marker, but manages not to make contact. They all get out of there safe. In fact, all the cars behind them successfully navigate the very tricky braking into that chicane.
Bennett has really been moving. He just got his way around Thompson, and now he's moved up into 11th position as he just got around Paul Slavonic.
Starting lap 2, your order up at the front is Reynolds, Thunhorst, Fleischle, Wolf, and Chappell. For your top 5, Callisto, our championship leader, sits in 6th, which will solidify the championship for him if he stays there. But a lot of racing left to go as we see the field stream their way up the mountain straight.
And Joe, we had missed it, but there was contact between Travis Henderson and Dale Green going down into the cutting, and there was a door-to-door contact, and Travis Henderson bearing the scars of that contact right now.
We were watching a little side-by-side between Richie Hearn and Trevor Vrosky. Looks like Hearn is the one that comes out ahead in that battle. Behind them as well, side-by-side between Bennett and Archer. Meanwhile, up at the front, thought I heard that there was maybe a battle for P2 there for a second. Looks like that is not the case. But they hit the skyline into the S's, now down into the infamous Dipper. So far, it's been a relatively clean start. The car very much under threat of these top 5 is still Josh Wolf, who's fending off Chappell. Well, I'm sure that Chappell won't be wanting to wait back there that long if he's got this much speed early on.
You're looking at that battle there with Wolf. I talked about that class, the championship for the Northwest Championship. There's still a chance here between Wolf and Bobrovsky. We'll see how that plays out. That could still swap positions.
We understand that very unlikely that they will. It'll have to take a
Sorry,
dire
Joe,
race
more
with
of
Wolf.
this. Traverson, Henderson, and Dale Green back together again in the cutting. Henderson had to let him go. They were just, it was them coming back to the same spot on track again, second time around.
Mark Workman took a little bit of a look at Henderson, but was not able to do anything with it. We are right on board with Workman, looking up at that fight. A little farther ahead of them, looks like Paul Slavonic is under threat from Michael Thompson, the Elite West driver, trying to bring his club as good at points as he can get. And in fact, in the championship fight, Elite West is the only one that can take the lead away from Alliance, but that will take a dire result from Alliance for them to lose that.
And here we go. Let's look at ninth position. This is Brian Bennett. Now, he got around Bobrovsky coming out of Murray's. Then Bobrovsky got him back. Now Bennett gets it one more time. Remember, Bennett had that false start where he didn't go. He's worked his way up about 5 spots. Bobrovsky is all over the back of him right now.
Yeah, Bennett with that pole position must be ruining that poor start, knowing what he could have thrown away. He could still get the win, but he's already 7.5 seconds back from our overall leader. Meanwhile, Fleischle, did he lose a position here?
Yeah. And he was really side by side with Kalisto for a while.
Yeah, he got dropped by Brandon Chappell and Josh Wolf there.
That was in an interesting spot as well. They were coming through Solman and McPhillamy where he lost those. Not usually a place where you see overtakes.
Sean, we mentioned how, well, Blake Reynolds is always fast, but let's give a tip of the hat to Matthew Thunhorst. He's done a pretty good job of sticking with him. He's only about 0.7 of a second back.
Yeah, great. I couldn't agree with you more. Thunhorst has done a really a good job of getting this race started, and his pace has been good, and he's able to hang with Blake Reynolds. I'm a little worried about some of these guys, though, starting to slip a little bit there, and Fleischle and Kalisto. You expect to see them at the front, and it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, including Bennett. And
let's look at Chappell had a problem in running at about 5th or so. In fact, he got an off. He was running ahead of Fleischle, almost put the car in the wall. I think he's clean.
That actually, I think, triggered a bit of a pass for Kalisto ahead of him. You're going to see him go off, just barely glances it, and you can see the cars having to slow up. That causes an opportunity for Richie Hearn to sneak past our championship leader. Let's watch on board, Lionel.
Yeah, this is not, Sean, this is not what the point leader wants to see in front of him.
No.
Oh!
Gotta be careful down there in Murray's corner. Back live, though. Look at this train of cars we've got going. Richie Hearn and Trevor Clement almost had a moment there in the cutting.
Yeah, Clement leading about 5 cars, all nose to tail, and in the thick of that is Little Train Kalisto. This is really not the sort of situation I think he wanted himself in.
Choo-choo.
And at the back of the train, in the caboose, is the position he does not want to be in, is Brian Bennett. He's made his way all the way up there, and he's a-coming. Sean, is this the kind of, with these heavier cars and the skinnier tires, can you use up... you have to be careful with your rubber throughout the stint?
Yeah, you really do. I mean, again, it's a little bit more narrow of a tire. The contact patch not is great. It's a hot track today. It's 100 degrees on track on a clear day, Soup. And there's a lot of heat being thrown into the tire from the braking. So, yeah, you've really got to take care of them. If you abuse them and slide the car all over the place, you're really going to pay for that deep in the run.
And Chappell had a horrible exit out of Forest Elbow, and that's going to let Bennett try to squeeze in there. Get this sorted out, boys.
Oh, he gave him just barely a car's width, but he breaks way late down into the chase. Somehow the car stays on the track, but he's all out of grip. Look at that thing just wobble trying to get to the power. Meanwhile, Bennett behind him waiting incredibly patiently and still doesn't attempt to pass down into Murray's.
Brian Bennett is being a very nice man right now.
Who said it? Up ahead of them, Richie Hearn is not wasting a good opportunity as he's gotten on the back of Clement and is looking to try and overtake him as they climb up the mountain straight. He's got a fantastic run. He's in the slipstream. He's going to pull off to the outside. It looks like Clement is going to make him go the long way around.
Got to turn in here. Oh, boy.
Way too late on it. Richie Hearn slides wide to the outside. And that's going to lose him the spot that he had momentarily and maybe lose him one to Callisto, who's not brave enough to take it too wide into the cutting.
We talked about the danger zones, Joe. That is exactly what I talked about there in Quarry. You missed that turn in and you're in trouble.
Well, this separates those top two. Oh, and a bit of a loss of traction from Richie Hearn up and into Frog Hollow. And that's going to bring Callisto right back up to the back of him, so what gap he had made has disappeared slightly. This is really some of the closest fighting we've got up at the front of the field. Everybody ahead of them has separated.
I mean, this train has become really deep now. Look at all these guys that have caught up because of this. Clark Archer, Paul Slavonic are part of this battle now.
Chappell gets on the back of Callisto down in Forest Elbow. And as they hit the Conrod straight, he doesn't get the exit he wants. Callisto gets some breathing space. They all stretch apart as they gather speed up and over the hump and down into the chase.
Herzog being overtaken by Dale Green. That's for 15th. Or, I'm sorry, 14th.
Green up 2 positions now since the start, having started in 16th. Not a bad run for him. Thinking there's going to be a few drivers that are maybe employing a bit of patience, knowing that they have race pace and will get chances. Meanwhile, that group all fighting for that 5th position, being led by Trevor Clement. Hit the straight once again, and at the tail of it, Chappell under threat as Bennett looks to the outside. Our pole sitter has got himself a nice exit off of Hell Quarter. Let's see if he can do better than Richie. And in fact, Richie just ahead of him is on the attack as Lionel Callisto almost gets taken out by Chappell, who loses the position anyway since he went deep. That was a close one. I wonder if we could get an onboard looking back from Callisto. Wow. Bill, how many lives does a black cat have on Halloween?
I think you're immortal if you're a black cat on Halloween. But right now, Clement is really the cork in the bottle as Hearn's trying to get around him. Remember, there's a little championship going on there. Hearn is racing in 6th position. He's trying to get that club championship. Michael Thompson is back there in 13th. That's still enough for Thompson to get that crown, but Hearn would like to pick up as many positions as he can.
Now, guys, we don't have to go to replay of this, but Ray Partridge had trouble on the top of the mountain. Big trouble out of McPhillamy Park, and he had to nurse the car all the way back to the pits, and he's taking a pit stop and a little bit of repair, but very costly for Ray there.
Sorry to jump us around, but I'm trying to keep tabs on this championship situation because Callisto lost another position to Brian Bennett coming out of Forest Elbow. Behind them, there was a battle between Vovrovsky and Chappell. Oh, and Vovrovsky looks unsteady under the brakes. He gathers it together just in time for the apex and holds on to that 9th position.
Callisto running in 8th right now, but he's got more cars coming. Here's a dive bomb down there. Chappell makes a move, gets the pass.
Ooh.
Man, right
almost loses it. Here comes Clark Archer looking to the inside, heading down to hell.
Archer not quite close enough, but the car behind him gaining ground. That's Paul Slavonic in 12th spot. But up in front of them, Clement once again finds himself in a battle. And once again with Richie Hearn. Hearn has been a thorn in his side for the last 5 laps or so. This time as they break down into Griffin's Bend, he's trying to find that grip around the outside. He's going to stay side by side behind them. A car gets in the wall. That's Brian Bennett. The car streamed by. Thankfully, no one hits him, and he exits out of the car.
Oh, gonna watch it on the replay here. Bennett gets turned all the way around, and Joe, I think we're going to see what ultimately happens is he gets stuck in that wall.
And once again, our championship leader is right behind him when that happens. We're only 7 laps into this race, and how many close calls have we seen for him already?
Yeah,
plenty.
The good news for Callisto is at least it's a small field, so there's a chance to get to 13th. He doesn't have to worry about getting around too many cars. I don't know who's responsible for the... Oh, my goodness, Chapel is in the wall. I was just going to talk about the Elite West setup. Those yellow cars are the most exciting ones out there right now.
Oh, and it's trouble for everybody behind Chapel right now. Chapel's really struggling here. Guys, he's beating the car up all the way down the mountain here.
We're going to watch this coming down into the dippers when this happens, as he goes over Skyline in our replay, and right here is where he's going to start to lose it.
There you
He
have
was
it.
very lucky that nobody was around him during the initial impact.
Yeah.
It would have been even worse.
And Vrosky and Archer are fighting right behind him, and they almost make contact.
And Callisto had it off at the chase. He's under threat from Chapel right now. We're seeing this live. Chapel looking around the outside, down into Murray's. Can he hold him off? And the lack of traction on those Elite West cars is the saving grace for Callisto. Let's maybe take a look to see what happened. I just glanced over and saw Callisto coming back on track. All by himself, down into the chase, and he just outbrakes himself. Gathers the rear back together.
All right, and we go back live, Joe. Archer gets by Vrosky down in Hell Turn. And now Vrosky fighting back here.
Archer
Gonna let him
loses
go.
out with Slavonic coming up around the outside. They try to go too wide, but just not enough room there, and Slavonic has to stay in that 11th spot. And whatever these Elite West drivers have employed, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get them the results they need to overtake Alliance, because Elite West will need 1st and 2nd. Alliance will need 17th and 18th at the end of the day. And considering the struggles that they're having early on, it just is not looking likely that they'll be able to perform.
Well, I believe the setup is fast. It's just those yellow cars they're sideways a lot. Look at this lead. Sean, we talked about it. Look how here's a pass for the lead.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Hang on, Thunhorst.
Ooh, but he breaks a little bit early, comes back at him down to the chase, gets his nose around the outside. Blake Reynolds pushes him hard. No contact made. Off course goes Thunhorst, returns, and is having to settle for 2nd for now.
Wow.
Let's watch from onboard Reynolds. Thunhorst gets on the radio afterwards, says, "Nice job keeping it together. I thought we were going to die." That was some steady driving from our leader. And Sean, I have to ask, we make a lot of deal about Reynolds is a black stripe driver. He's a pro-level driver on iRacing on the oval side. Do the Gen 6 cars have a lot in common with these V8 supercars?
You know, honestly, I think the Xfinity car has a lot more similarity to this car, the wheelbase being just about the same. So if I'm making comparisons, I think, like I said, I think it's more the Xfinity, the B-class car. They have, you know, the way they roll through the center is very, very similar, and you get that feel here in the Aussie V8.
Behind this fight for the lead, Richie Hearn overtook Trevor Clement for the 5th position, and that was into Griffin's Bend. There you can see the Elite West car has now gotten past him. So that's two battles that were very close that have now spread out to nearly a second each, both first and second and fifth and sixth.
Yeah, we're 9 laps into 81, so well, that's 1/9 of the way there if I know my multiplication tables. But it's been really tight. Things have got to spread out a little bit here, and things are going to settle down soon.
Yeah.
I'd say things have spread out, to be honest. Remember, it was from 5th to what, about 11th spot?
Yeah.
We had a train of
Right.
cars, and
Yep.
they're all now at least a second apart.
And some of the cars that were in that battle, if you go back and look at them through the field, they're carrying the scars of battling Richie Hearn, Richie Hearn, Trevor Clement, even Lionel Kalisto's got a little bit of damage on his car, and Brandon Chappell certainly left front damage on his, Trevor Vavrosky. So the fighting came at a cost, Joe.
Let's look at 11th real quick, actually 10th. This is Paul Slavonic, just got around Clark Archer. Archer fighting back, and then racing back there in 12th is Michael Thompson.
Yeah, we saw where that kicked off on screen with Archer going wide at Forrest Elbow, and Slavonic does not need twice of asking to try and take that opportunity with both hands. Behind them, Thompson giving just a watchful eye in the popcorn position. Oh, very close braking down into Murray's corner. And in fact, Slavonic uses all the track and then some, getting all over the exit curb, but not unsettling the car. Ooh, little of a dive into the inside, gets cut off at the apex, and Clark Archer actually has to take to the grass. Behind him, Thompson slides the car to avoid him.
Yeah, you saw that. I was watching Thompson when he comes out of Hell Corner there. The rear end started to go. He caught it real well, and now he comes up alongside here. Going to make a run at Archer, maybe? Try it from the outside. Others have failed. He's going to slip in and make the turn.
Archer makes a defensive move, just holding off to the side to deny him that apex. So Thompson's going to stay in 12th for now, Archer in 11th. Sean, we make such a big deal in the Camel GT series about the Nissans and the curbs. How do the curbs deal with these V8 supercars?
Well, you know what? They don't handle them really well, okay? Now, there are a couple spots on track where they don't get very high. But these inside curves up near the walls, they do rise up off the track, and you hit those just right, you'll throw the car up and it'll slide off the track. So you've got to handle it kind of delicately.
Delicate in these cars are not words that I think typically go together. Our leaders have closed the gap slightly, as Thunhorst has cut it down by half to 0.4 of a second on Blake Reynolds. They approach the chase one more time, this time without an attack on our leader.
Yeah, to be honestly, I watch the lead, then I go and check through the field to see what's going on. When I come back, I expect to see Blake Reynolds has pulled away. Not the case, as Thunhurst coming back, and I'm going to make another attack at him. Now, he's got the lap car of Ray Partridge up ahead, but Partridge should be able to get out of the way pretty easily here.
It looks like he should be caught before they get to the top of the hill, unless Partridge makes things difficult, which you would hope he wouldn't this early on. Already 11 laps in, and yes, a nice move to the outside as he's narrowly avoided by Blake Reynolds.
Ray's got to put the car somewhere.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I don't think he did anything wrong there. But good avoidance maneuvers both by Reynolds and Thunhorst in that situation. That's lost about 0.2 for Thunhorst in that whole fracas.
Now, for the sake of keeping track of drivers on track, Brian Bennett, a couple laps ago, he came in and had his damage repaired, Joe. It was a long pit stop for Brian, 3 minutes and 17 seconds, so there was a lot of work to do on the car. Now he finds himself just almost a full lap down. Or no, I'm sorry, he is a full lap down, my bad.
And we're looking at Brian Bennett. And for friends and family of Lionel Kalisto, what they're really paying attention to, let's go to 14th position and let's give Mark Herzog a little love. Why do we care about Mark Herzog if we're a Kalisto fan? Well, that's the position that you don't want to finish in if you're Lionel Kalisto. If you finish 14th, you're not going to win the champ.
Well, he won't be able to seal the championship, we should clarify. Reynolds has to still finish in first if Kalisto finishes in 14th. Now, obviously it gets more complicated with each positions down. Each of them go in that situation, but we'll try and keep you abreast as best we can with our GSRC math.
We got 3 commentators here today. If you hear me not talking for a while, that means I'm
Okay.
taking off my shoes and I'm doing work.
I'm going to tell some truth. I have my calculator open if we need it, guys.
All right, the combined intelligence of GSRC commentators. Mark Herzog has a problem down into Forest Elbow. I think he managed to stay out of the barrier, but he got ever so close, smoking the tires, trying to lock them up into that downhill left-hander.
You know, I've been watching Michael Thompson follow Clark Archer. I got to tell you, Archer maybe not as smooth as he should be. I think Michael Thompson is really close to maybe picking up this 11th spot.
Yeah, he's certainly been hounding him. And these, you know, Alliance has been dominant in the last 2 seasons of this series where they've held the Constructors' Championship, and we've given them a lot of praise. But I really think these are the other 2 groups that we need to give a lot of props to, both Elite West, who we've mentioned in the championship fight, but the ride and shotgun guys have come in with a force and have really shown themselves to be strong, not just on the oval side, but they've done fairly well on the road side.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, every time I do my points update and I do the team's championship, I'm always surprised to see Riding Shotgun not in the top 5 because they seem to perform really well, better than their ports results give them.
We watch Vrosky with the Grizzly Motorsports team, another one who's come in and made a splash here in their rookie season in the Pacific Majors.
And I love the Riding Shotgun paint schemes as well. Those are really good, those wood panel cars. I think we may have a pass for the lead coming up this time. This is, let's see what kind of run. If he can just get, boy, you know what? Reynolds is really good out of Forest Elbow, and he's also really good out of 1. Every time I think that Thunhorse has a shot at him, Reynolds just gets such a great drive off the corners. Here he comes.
Just runs out of straightaway down into the chase. Sean, I kind of get the impression maybe that these 2 are pacing themselves. Oh, as we have a big moment for Reynolds. Gathers it together, but there goes that gap. It's now down to 2/10 between Thunhorst and Reynolds as they come up to Murray's. Could we see an attack? He's going to wait patiently behind as they come through the final corner and cross that start-finish line. The next one is really where Thunhorst should focus on that exit. Coming through Hell Corner.
I'm still watching the Chapel Vrosky battle, Joe. These 2 are still going at it. You know, they both have about the same amount of damage on their cars.
This is for that 8th position. Vrosky really hunting him down and putting the pressure on. They're coming up to the lapped car of Ray Partridge, who we saw a few laps ago. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get him up the mountain straight. They're going to have to deal with this traffic over the top of the hill. But as we watch this fight, Sean, the point that I was getting to before, let's stay on this battle, but it seems like our leaders are just kind of pacing themselves. They're not really pushing terribly hard, it seems, or challenging one another, just kind of waiting to see what the race brings.
I think right now they've looked in at their relative, Joe. They know they've got a nice pad here. Let's take care of the cars till his first pit stop, and then let's let the pit stops kind of work themselves out. No reason to push any harder than they are at this point. Like I said, they've padded their lead pretty well.
You know,
Chapel hit by Callisto getting hung out to dry there.
That was precarious. Through McPhillamy Park. I don't know how he managed to let them through and keep the car on the track. Partridge's got 3 more cars behind him to deal with as well, but now that they've hit Forest Elbow, they'll have a nice, wide-open straightaway to let them through.
You know, the Holden does not handle well, Joe, when it is wrecked. Brandon Chapel somehow just keeps running this thing at a really soft round.
Which surprises me with the way that he was struggling earlier on as we watch this fight between Slavonic and Archer down into the chase. Archer's going to stay behind him for now. These 2 have certainly been at it for quite a bit of this race. And you mentioned something that oh, we got a car off the track. That's Swarovski. Car looks damaged badly. Maybe he's just struggling to get the traction. Let's watch through the chase here. What happened to him?
Joe, it looks like he just loses it. Oh, he got a little bit high up on the curb. Actually, he grabs a little bit too much curb there. Sends the car around off into the dirt.
Thankfully, did not hit anything. So just trying to clear that dirt off the car. It did not want to accelerate, and that's why he was all over the place. Now he's got it going once again, but that's put him down all the way to 14th.
Yeah, it's a really good move to get that car rolled off the track as quickly as he did, Joe. There was a lot of traffic coming through there. Herzog, Green, Thompson all came through there.
But once again, I seem to get my points interrupted down into the chase. One thing we haven't touched on yet, Sean, is how many Commodores and how many Fords do we have out here today? What's the ratio?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Tell that, yeah.
I'm gonna. Hang on. Let me get on that here.
We'll let Sean try and 7 Fords we're hearing.
Okay.
Ooh, so
yes,
way
7
outweighed.
Fords.
Commodore apparently the more popular car.
Darn it, Soup! My timing and scoring doesn't show that.
I was thinking the same thing. Well, only Joe would ask such a question.
Well, you know what? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send someone an email about that and say, hey, can we fix that?
Is there much difference between the car, or is it just the big difference is the logo?
No, actually, there isn't any difference. It's the logo.
They do it NASCAR style, Bill, on iRacing, where it's the same physics under the car. It's all just superficial. It's all about pride.
Yeah.
Seems
and
like
trust me, when it comes to Australia, you're either a Holden guy or a Commodore guy. I mean, that's it.
I think Holden
Did I say that? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We got a long race to go here, Sean.
Yeah. Boy,
I'm
already getting loopy 15 laps in.
Well, from all my years of watching Star Trek, Commodores are never good. They always come in and cause trouble.
Mess things up.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So I would not race one of those.
Well, things have split up a little bit out in the field, and with the first pit stops getting ready to hit us, let's give you a quick rundown of the top 10 and tell you where everybody stands. Blake Reynolds is leading the way, but only scantly. Thunhorst has been challenging the entire time. He sits in second place. Josh Wolf has been dropping back steadily. He's a whole 4.5 seconds back from Thunhorst, sitting on the final podium spot. Jason Fleischle, keeping the pressure on him, at least keeping him honest, sitting in fourth. Our last season's champion is getting ready to hand over the crown to someone else for sure, since he is mathematically out of this championship. Richie Hearn, within the top 5, still looking for that first win in this series. We said he looked good in practice. Right now, he's just pacing himself. Trevor Clement, he's taken a win this season. He sits in the 6th spot all by himself with our championship leader, Lionel Kalisto, still in 7th, still safe if he can finish in this spot to take home the Mario Andretti Drivers' Championship trophy. Brandon Chappell, he has been up and down the order quite a bit and certainly given us some excitement, but despite all that, he is still within the top 10 and still in 8th. Paul Slavonic, the author, he is currently within the top 10 in 9th, and then behind him, and quite a bit of a fight between himself and Slavonic and the car behind Thompson, is Clark Archer, the number 29.
So, Joe, I just want to publicly correct myself, okay? So you're either a Holden guy or you're a Ford guy. Okay.
Yes, we got that right now.
Yeah, okay. I think everybody figured that out, right?
All the Australians can stop shouting at the screen.
Yeah, man. That's the problem. I'm worried our Australian friends are all watching over our shoulders and they're going, what is that bloke talking about?
So we watch Archer still in his nice little tussle. Nobody able to gain ground through the chase. But we've got a closer fight up for third because remember Fleischle and Wolf? Well, Fleischle has cut the gap by quite a bit. They're climbing up the mountain straight. The number 77. Seeing what he can do, he pokes his head out.
Archer had trouble out of Murray. Big trouble for Clark Archer.
You can see he's being overtaken by Dale Green. Let's look at the replay, figure out what happened. I think...
Got in too hot, Joe. He just got in too hot. He locks him up. He missed the braking zone.
Yeah, you see it there on the replay. Just locked him up, trying to keep it out of the barriers, and whoop. Actually, no, I think he didn't touch him.
Yeah, no, he didn't touch it. It was a very, very tense moment.
Well, that allowed both Thompson and Green to get ahead of him.
Slavonic dodged a bullet and doesn't even realize it there, probably.
Yeah. Unless his mirror all became full of, all of a sudden became full of Clark Archer's eyeballs.
Could be the case. But the oak, thankfully, is no longer in the mirror of Paul Slavonic. Instead, he's looking ahead to Brandon Chappell, maybe thinking he can get himself up into 8th instead. Both cars navigating their way through the Dipper. Now through the S's and into Forest Elbow. Chappell looking a little bit stronger up until Forest Elbow, where he comes in very shallow, locks up the brakes, somehow navigates the corner and doesn't lose time. Oh, but he got a horrible exit.
Yes, he did. Chappell gets on top of him to just go ahead. Did we?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know we talked about it in the pre-race, but have we mentioned yet that this is Slavonic second endurance race of the weekend here?
We haven't yet. You talked to me a little bit before the show, though.
Yeah, he was actually in a kart last night at the Dallas Karting Complex in East Texas, about a little over an hour east of Dallas, and he ran a 2.5 hour endurance race with his buddies Derek Upton, Daniel Johnson, and Chris Coffey, and they managed to survive the great seatbelt debacle and finish second in that race. So a lot of seat time for our buddy Paul Slavonic tonight, or this weekend in general.
This is my second endurance event, as well as I foolishly started Stranger Things last night and had to end up watching that as Clark Archer just had an off.
Ooh, Archer looks to be struggling. Sean, I'm wondering if a few drivers have found the end of these tires.
I said the pit window was about 17 to 20. You could probably make 20 on fuel, but I think at the end of about 17 laps, your tires are cooked. And now we are starting to see some definite errors on track.
Speaking of which, Mark Herzog is in the pit lane.
Yeah.
I think this is scheduled.
And I think we missed it, but, Callisto managed to get around Trevor Clement just a bit ago. He made a good move down in Quarry.
A correction for myself. Herzog did touch the wall and hard coming out of the Dipper on that lap that he came into the pit. So this might be scheduled, but I think it was also instigated by a little bit of repairs needed.
Let's just say it was coming up, and he probably thought, yeah, it's good to go now. So.
Up in third, we watch Jason Fleischle past Wolf now and onto the podium. Fleischle had a very good race last season here.
Yeah. Maybe he's off pace because he's using last year's set, Joe.
you had some experience with that, didn't you?
It's a little inside joke, pulling back the curtain a little bit there.
Well, I think he's got the set sorted out, that's for sure. Because a podium is no mean feat around here. Not just racing other cars, you're racing the track, you're racing yourself just to get to the end of these 81 laps, and someone was off. That was Chappell. There's a couple spots, one to Michael Thompson, one to Paul Slavonic. Let's see here in the replay, looks like just outbraked himself into the chase. Nearly collides with Slavonic, though. Yes, Chappell just not having the race that he wanted as he comes up beside his teammate of Thompson.
And he's not going to fight his teammate here too hard, is he? Down in the quarry?
He breaks off early. There he goes. He lets Brandon through. Even still, you have to consider Brandon started in 7th, and he was in 10th. Now that moves him up into 9th. Speaking of starting positions, Bill, you've caught one particular driver who's made good inroads.
Yeah, and he just in a good battle here with Clark Archer, who's trying to fight his way back. Rob Call is our hard charger so far. He started in in 19th position. He's only up with about 4 spots now as Archer gets around him.
And this is a pretty decent little pack of cars again. You get Brian Barnes and Bob keeping the salami on the pizza so far back there, Beltrami.
Yeah, I think these guys are coming here. This is pretty good.
Barnes, of course, is fighting for the Legends Championship, I believe, but he has to win the race, and I unfortunately can't see it in my notes where his competitor has to finish. So Barnes probably not going to take that one today. Still, got to be proud finishing second in that group.
Yeah, leading that is Brian Bennett. Now, of course, Bennett's had some issues, but I think there was a 69-point advantage, so feeling pretty good that Brian's going to get that elderly award.
That's your phrasing, not mine, Bill. Just going to say that.
Boy, Joshua Wolf just got a terrible exit off of turn 1. Lost a lot of ground to Jason Fleischle. He had really closed up on him. He was only like 0.3 of a second.
Wolf is another one that seems to handle these cars, this combination, quite well, who came over from the oval side, at least how we knew him, and then really swam with the Sharks when it came to hopping into the road side of things. Remember when we raced the Gen 6 at Watkins Glen and rallied back? I believe, Bill, was it, I think it was for a podium finish there.
I believe it was, yeah. That was always fun to watch that happen.
And man, listen, he is fighting those tires right now, guys.
Let's go to Chapel. Is this recent? Chapel just got in making a move on his teammate?
Yep.
I believe this is current.
Yep. He lost it in the grass.
Oh, and we just saw him get into the wall in the cutting. I think he made some contact in Griffin's Bend with his teammate in that battle as well. And that car is now severely damaged. You can see how slowly he's coming up over through Fog Hollow.
He is in trouble, Soup. He's going to be lucky to get this car back to the pit.
Yeah, he was trying to make a move on the outside, got the wheels in the grass, and it was all over from there.
Listen, they talked about a window of getting to 20. I'm sorry, but if you're... you better be really good to drive that car with about a gallon or 2 left in it, because it's... we're seeing a lot of mistakes here trying to get to 20.
And that begs the question, Sean, which of these teams have someone up on the proverbial wall, a crew chief, to tell them, hey, we need to switch strategies?
Matthew Thunhorst in. Maybe he does, Joe.
Well, he did make it to lap 20, though, so...
But we talk about 20. If you can get to 21, then you got a chance to do it in one less stop. Am I right? If you go to 20, 40, 60, 80, you're 4 miles short of finishing.
Well, yes, your math is right. So,
but 21's impossible, you're saying, right?
You know what? I didn't get 21, and I haven't heard anybody who said they did. I did hear somebody who said they got 20, so, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's a big question mark. That's a lot of fuel saving. I'm not sure if it'd be worth saving that extra stop. Thunhorst is on his way out. Chapel eventually made his way in, but not without having to tell drivers around him to try and get out of the way because he was kind of stuck in a pack and couldn't reach the pit entrance momentarily.
So right now our leader is on lap 20, right? So this is kind of important. He's either got to come in this time. If he can go 21, then he saves the stop.
Maybe our fuel numbers are off again.
Oh, they lied. I tell you, Joe, they lie to the commentators. It's becoming a running joke throughout iRacing.
We'll find out soon. Reynolds comes down the chase, down towards the chase. Has got himself a nice gap now that Thunhorst is pitted.
Fleischle already made his call to pit, Joe.
And does Blake Reynolds come in? He holds off to the left. Yes, he does. Our leader is pitting. Are we going to see some F1 style strategizing, though? Our driver is going to try an undercut as, wow, Reynolds gets it all kinds of sideways, getting it woed up for the cones.
Wolf going to push it one more.
That a boy. That a boy.
So's Richie Hearn.
And these guys are fast enough. They qualified. Wolf qualified 6th. Now, another strategy that can happen here is you could come in and almost splash and go on this stop and come in another 2 or 3 laps and then take your full fill.
Michael Thompson going to stay out. Sylvanic's in. Clement's in. Callisto. More cars. Trevor Vrosky, Dale Green staying out, guys.
So despite the tires starting to give up at the end of the stint, the majority of drivers do seem to be trying to take it as far as they can. I wonder if that's going to reward the Elaine Prosts of the group, who can really nurse those tires. And
well, Joe Thunhorst, who's already been in, completes his first lap. He comes out, and now he's in 7th. He got around Travis Henderson, who has not pit yet.
Blake Reynolds comes out ahead of him by about 4 seconds. Interesting. I would have thought the fresh tires would allow Thunhorst to actually close on Reynolds. Of course, the thing we haven't talked about is that Thunhorst, or that the pit entry could make the difference. That some drivers who attack it a little bit harder could potentially make up time there. We are getting some information saying that 23 laps are possible on fuel.
Well, there you have it. I think there needs to be some type of government inquiry on how they consistently give us wrong numbers.
Sean, your test driver seems to have been heavy right foot.
I failed you guys terribly. Yeah.
Oh,
all right, Josh Wolf is coming in, guys. Richie Hearn going to stay out, though.
So the question then I go back to, Reynolds pitted on 20. Let's assume then he pitted probably before he needed to, or maybe he's burning it up that much. See, I guess if you can get to 20 and you can go 23, they should all be to go here another, what would that be, 2 more stops?
Well, I think it'll come down to, Bill, is what, if they can go 23 laps, I'd say it's what kind of approach do you want to take? Do you want to maybe make a very short last stint, have the car a little bit light and on fresh tires so that you can make a charge, or do you want to have a long last stint? Or do you want to just split them all evenly?
Well, I'd say at this point right now, knowing that we can maybe get a little bit more out of the car than we thought initially, I'd just split them evenly. Yeah, that's as long as you don't pick up any damage or anything. That's the big X factor, isn't it?
Certainly is. Easier said than done, as well, as we watch Wayne Hutchison come in for his stop. By the way, a big thank you to Wayne. He's the one that got us those stats on the number of laps that have been run so far.
I love you, Wayne. Sorry, man. Let's go to 5th real quick. Here comes Wolf. He's being challenged by Fleischle. Remember, Fleischle was racing, I believe, as high up as 4th before the stop. Whoa. Easy, boys.
Wolf tries to turn into the apex, but there is another car there, and Fleischle is going to be able to retain that position ahead of him. It's currently 5th, but it'll swap back around once the first pit stops finish.
Now, Fleischle's got some heat in his tires, and Wolf still trying to get that car back up to temp after having his pit stop just a moment ago.
Are these cars particularly touchy coming out of the pits with the tires being colder?
Yes, they are. Getting up the mountain the first time, Joe, can be very, very tricky. You know, you hope by the time you get that to the top of the mountain that you've got a little bit of heat in them coming down the other side.
All right, Richie Hearn finally comes in for his stop. 22 laps into this race. Incredibly, we have no DNFs. All 25 cars are out there still running. However, we do have 1 car lap down, and that is Ray Partridge. Meanwhile, watching this battle between Fleischle and Wolf, they go by Workman, who I believe he is yet to stop. Yes, indeed, he has not pitted yet, hence why he is a lot slower than these two. Dutifully lets them by, even though it's for position. Workman announces that he is finally coming in for his stop at the end of 23 laps. Only one more car yet to pit. That is the number 68, Brian McGreevy, currently sitting in 12th. He'll move down the order here momentarily. We expect him to come in as he hits the chase just behind the cars of Green and Thompson.
And Hearn is away, guys, off the pit lane and back on track.
Looks like he's going to return in 5th place. McGreevy did indeed come in for his stop. So let's run you down the top 5 now that they've finally settled out their order. Blake Reynolds still leading. However, the first pit stop has given him a significant gap. Matthew Thunhorst in 2nd is 4 behind. Jason Fleischle sits in 3rd, a huge distance back, 15 seconds behind, but still in a podium spot and trying to fend off Josh Wolf, who sits in 4th. Behind them, Richie Hearn has finally taken his pit stop. That slots him back within the top 5. With that, we'll take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with more racing action for the season finale of the Pacific Majors here at the Bathurst 500. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit, where we're watching the finale of the Pacific Majors, the 2017 season. And currently, Blake Reynolds is your leader, but he is not winning the championship with how things stand. Our championship leader in the Mario Andretti Drivers' Championship is Lionel Callisto. The number 2 sits in 6th, and that'll be enough to secure it, even though he has only won 1 race to Blake Reynolds' 6, which could be potentially 7 if he holds this position until the checkers at the end of the day, Bill.
We have an interesting battle going on. We were looking at this not a battle on the track between Thompson and Hearns, though, for the West Championship. Right now, Thompson's still ahead by 9 points. Hearns is racing in, about 5th position right now. Thompson racing about 4 or 5 spots back. So far, Hearns not far enough ahead to get that crown yet.
So if Thompson gets this with those points, does that mean he gets to party like it's 1999?
There you go. That's right, Joe. Well, let's hope he stays right in that position the rest of the way.
Jeez, once again, there will be a song I can't get out of my head all night. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. The battle for 3rd has been an interesting one. Wolf is not letting Fleischle go. And Wolf is fighting for this championship, mind you, although he needs much better circumstances for himself. He needs to be leading this race, of course, and he needs Blake to be no better than the spot that the car ahead of him is in, 3rd place, and Lionel must finish 19th or worse for Josh Wolf to take home this championship. Now, Josh has not won a race this season, I believe. Let me check my notes on that.
No, and those Grizzly guys have been all over the place looking to get... I don't believe any of them have a win, even though they've gotten lots of attention here on GSRC. They are an exciting bunch.
And they perform well in the races. They've raised a little bit of ire along the way of their fellow competitors, but who hasn't caused an eyebrow to raise somewhere along the way, especially when competition is this intense and this serious. They put a lot of practice, everybody does, coming into these races, hoping to get something out of it. When it ends early, it certainly raises some tempers.
Well, there is a practice requirement, Joe, that's part of this piece to qualify for these races.
Certainly is. They want people to show up prepared. So the practice, yes, is indeed not just people trying to get faster necessarily, although a big part of it is, but they're trying to make sure that they are allowed in.
Because they want to be on the GSRC broadcast, not the AM broadcast.
Oh,
I'm sure there's
not because of the quality of the broad. I'm getting ums and ahs from him. It's just the pride of being in the pros.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
There was not a
reflection
on the quality of the broadcast companies at all.
Boy, do you feel Soup's hole getting bigger there, Joe?
We'll put his email up in the description if you want to email Bill your comments after the race.
I was up 9 hours watching a dang TV show last night. Come on, give me a break.
All right. Well, we're going to be here for 3 hours watching a fantastic race. Still going on for this 3rd place, number 77 of Fleischle, managing to fend off Josh Wolf, looking a little bit like we saw in the battle for the lead in the first stint, where nobody really was able to make much inroads, although I would not put it past Josh Wolf to make a dive if he has half a whiff of a chance. He loses time through Murray's as he locked him up trying to get it down to the apex, and that costs him to nearly 0.8 of a second now. Up ahead of them, Thunderhorst, even though he lost time in the pit stops, is keeping incredibly similar pace to Blake Reynolds. So if Reynolds makes any sort of mistake, he could be within the clutches of Matthew once again.
Their time in the pit stop, cone to cone, Reynolds and Thunderhurst almost identical, about 55 seconds. Thunderhurst a little faster, actually, in his box than Reynolds was.
So we see Reynolds come up over the top of the hill. A team that we haven't mentioned a whole lot of, kind of because it's considered a bit of a secondary team. That's a bit unfair, as they have plenty of talent. But the Alliance Evolution team, sort of a sister team to the Alliance team that's looking like they'll win the championship. There's another one on them. Trevor Clement, of course, who has won a race. And just to solidify what we were talking about of the talent on that team, Paul Slavonic as well, another driver who's typically a front runner in a lot of the races out here. They've got lots to brag about in Alliance Evolution, and they should get some screen time and a bit of kudos.
And with their race team name, you would think they have a lot of room to evolve and mutate into a better
I knew that was coming.
Making me proud, Bill.
Hey, guys, a real threat for 10th place here. Trevor Vorosky has caught Dale Green, and boy, they climbed the mountain here. Anything can happen coming down the other side. Vorosky is closing quick.
Tell you what, Dale Green's having a hell of a race. He started 16th, and he's up in 10th. He's going to want to hold on to that as the pressure is being put on by Vorosky. The Grizzly Motorsports driver nearly loses it out of the dipper, and that's going to put him into the clutches of Brian Bennett. So Green staying very cool as he gets the pressure put onto him.
Yeah, and that pressure cost for Vorosky a lot there. He loses a significant amount of ground, and like you said, that brings Brian Bennett to the party. Obviously, Bennett having trouble and having to get the car repaired, but still remains on the lead lap, and that is a battle for position.
Yeah, poor Bennett, after starting on pole, has just been having a miserable race today, and this is really recovery drive, if anything, for him. Trying to come back through this field, only been able to get up to 12th so far, and I suspect he's probably used his spare car by now.
He has, Joe, indeed. That car was damaged pretty badly, and he's also up against a pit stop right now, actually. He's at 20 laps on this stint.
Dale Green is our hard charger, up 6 positions, but honestly, I feel like wanting to give hard charger to Bennett, because it seems like he's been doing all the work out there.
If he finishes anywhere within the top 10, yeah, I think that's deserving of a hard charger for him. He's trying to make up one more spot as he stays close to the tail of Vorosky through Griffin's Bend. All of them running line astern, no position change. Now they head up towards the cutting. Getting a couple more cars starting to lose laps now. Brian McGreevy has gone a lap down. Owen Workman is off. That's in the chase.
It was, and he hit the curb right over the top of it. It's one of those areas that we were talking about early on in this race. You're going to see him come over the top of the curb. It's going to throw the car up in the air, and it's going to get him offline.
A little bit too much grip on that right side. And that alcohol liveried car, unfortunately, loops it around. So as we come back live, he's back on track, but he has gone a lap down and is now in 24th as he loses out to McGreevy.
He did a great job of not bringing that car. He merged that right back in front, let the leaders go by first and second before he brought it out on the track.
And Joe, just to clarify, that's not just an alcohol sponsor. That's our old friends over at the Poseida Bar and Grill. We've been around for a couple of years now as a sponsor on Workman's Car and a few others.
I did actually recognize that. I was just trying to make sure I got the name right before I called it out. But indeed, yes, our good friends over at Poseida making an appearance here on the Pack Majors.
We may be on the big screen over there. They've put races up there at the club.
I'll give them a warm hello. Hopefully they're watching as we switch over to Mark Herzog. Currently in the 13th spot. He's got Clark Archer very close behind.
Buy everybody around, Sean.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Sorry if you may be watching. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure
for that.
Bill is always full of drinking games, so I'm sure he'll come up with something that they can do shots for. But
Let's go to 11th real quick. Oh, I thought Bennett was going to make this pass, but he doesn't.
Yeah, they're still going to stay as they are. We were watching the fight between Herzog and Archer. But we've switched over here to this fight for 11th.
That's just behind. Those guys are racing up there. That's 10th with Green up in front. And then back at 13th, the one we were looking with Herzog and Archer.
And we've seen this before. Vovrosky close behind the car of Dale Green up the top of the mountain. Last time it did not go well for Vovrosky as he had to gather the car together through the dipper. Let's see what he does this time. Through McPhillamy Park, they go a little bit off the apex for Dale Green. That loses him some time. Now they hit Skyline and head back downhill. This is where the mistake happened for Vovrosky before. This time he's nice and clean. If he can stay with him through Forest Elbow, he could get a run down the hill. Oh, way off the apex for Dale Green coming through Forest Elbow, and here it comes. Vovrosky with a good exit, side by side, door to door, through the Conrad straight. And Vovrosky easily going to take that 10th away. Could we see Green come back at him? He ducks into the slipstream. But as they break now for the chase, he's not willing to try and give it a go.
Now, Brian Bennett at the very back of that battle. I look for him to come in right here, Joe.
Well, he's not close enough for now. Green, however, is close enough to stick his nose in on Vovrosky. He takes a bit of a peek. A puff of smoke as Vovrosky locks him up at the apex. And once again, he's going to get another bite of the cherry. Here comes Dale Green. Look into the inside, but he's not deep enough on the brakes to take the apex away from Trevor Vovrosky. The Grizzly Motorsports driver will hold on to that 10th spot.
Sean, I think you're onto something, though. I think Brian Bennett knows there's no reason for me to risk the pass trying to get around these guys when I really need to come in, well, a lap ago, honestly.
Well, okay, so he's working lap 23 right now, so he just passed 22. He's working on 23, yeah. So he's really, really pushing it.
Vovrosky had a big bobble coming out of Griffin's Bend, but it wasn't slow enough for Green to try and look to the inside. Still, he is giving him a taste of his own medicine as he continues to pressurize Trevor. This is one of our closest fights on the track at the moment. This time, Trevor much stronger, up and over the mountains, stretching away from Dale Green, finally giving himself some respite.
Sean, you get the attitude that I've been looking around at some of the battles. There's a battle between Fleischle and Wolf, and they know that there's so many. There's still 50 laps left. That it's almost let's just race here. And, it's not like we're going anywhere. If I get around you, it's not like I'm going to be leaving you. So it's almost like they're just driving, putting in the miles right now.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Now we're like almost to the halfway point of this race, and still so much to go. You got to take care of the car. Some of these drivers have already had to use their fast repairs, so It really is more about just pace right now and being patient, and maybe even working a little bit with the guy in front of you. But, man, I'll tell you what, you get back to 13th place, and Martin Herzog has got Clark Archer and Brandon Chappell just behind him. And these three doing exactly that, what we just talked about, Soup. None of them have been overly aggressive, but they've all stayed close, and looks like they're maybe even trying to take care of each other a little bit here.
Yeah, the point I'm making, the racing might look a little different on lap 80 compared to lap 31.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of things looking a little bit different, one thing we haven't touched on is the evolution of the track. We're starting to see some very dark lines growing in the braking zones as it rubbers in. I have to imagine it's going to be a lot harder to get offline as the marbles build up, Sean.
Yes, and it's already hot. It's already a slippery track, and you start to add in the wear. It gets, again, those areas there at the top of the mountain down in the S is coming down the mountain. It makes it even more treacherous. And, oh, boy, Dale Green off the track, into the wall. It was right there just before Sullivan out of the cutting, yeah.
We're going to watch the replay. He's got cars barreling down on him, trying to find their way around. We're coming back to that after this replay, at the end of this replay.
And when we do, we want to see if we can find Matthew Thunhorst, too. We'll wait for this one.
If we stay on this, Chappell and Herzog and Archer barely get by. Poor Dale Green just wasn't sure which side to go on. And there you can see the side-by-side action happening because of that through Philamy Park, and poor Clark Archer loses out to Chapel.
Up at the top of the mountain, while that was going on, Matthew Thunhorst had an incident. He put the left side in the wall. He put the right side in the wall. He was about 3 seconds behind the leader. He is now 7.5 seconds back and dropping.
Let's see if we can dig up that replay.
Soup, did he put his right side in and his right side out? Is that what you're...
He
I'm
did
sorry.
the hokey dokey, and he turned himself. Well, he didn't turn himself around. He did a good job keeping the cart straight, but yeah. Let's see if our director has found it here.
There, he hit the inside. Oof, that was a good clip. He'll be lucky. Oh,
This isn't it. There's more. Here we go. This one, and then this one here.
wow. That was just a bad lap overall. Because I believe he clipped the inside of the corner at McPhillamy Park as well as down into the dipper.
So he was holding station with Reynolds about 3 seconds back. Now he's dropped.
You know what, guys? While we were looking at that, we missed an incident down in the chase between Mark Herzog and Brandon Chappell. Both cars wreck. Just behind that was Clark Archer. Archer was able to actually. Archer gets through. Herzog is able to continue, but here they're going to get together right here.
Boom.
Chappell goes in hard, and he had already used his fast repair, so that car is quite possibly going to be done. Going to be in for a long repair, if nothing else.
Yeah, it grabbed the wall hard. Unfortunately, a bit of a sim racing glitch has made his day even worse. Archer did eventually manage to get past Herzog and all of that, so Archer now up to 11th. For what was a relatively quiet start to this race, we're now seeing more and more mistakes, more drivers hitting the wall. Could we have seen a few days now fully ended?
Joe, this is it shares similarity to the Nürburgring in the sense that it's hard to keep your focus all the way around this track. It's hard to keep your focus over the length of a 3-hour event here. There's so many unpredictable spots in this track that unless you've just been here years and laps and laps and laps, it's easy to get caught out in several places.
Certainly has borne fruit here today as we ride on board with the nose of Josh Wolf, chasing down Jason Fleischle. Oh, and Mark Herzog was
a bit of controversy.
Black flag. So despite the door banging, they're going to call that one on Mark Herzog. And he has to serve his penalty as he does right now.
That was Marshall enforced. That's going to be costly.
Heard the words previous corner come out of a driver's mouth. That's always saying check the whole thing out, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sure the stewards have looked through that whole thing. I can't imagine they'd ignored that bit. But some of the drivers were actually calling to have the live stewards back. They were missing it for a couple races here in the Pack Majors. Ooh, Wolf got incredibly close up behind Jason Fleischle that time into the braking of the chase. Closed the gap quite a bit. They're going to come through for another lap. We're getting relatively close to the halfway point in this thing, though. Incredibly, we still have 19 cars on the lead lap out of the 25 that started.
Now, we right off the back of Jason Fleischle. One of those cars racing in 6th position, Lionel Callisto. Nobody in front of him. He's got about 10 seconds to get to Richie Hearn. About 4 seconds back to Trevor Clement. Put another $1 in the jar. But Lionel having a nice race. Sean, it kind of reminds me of a golfer with like a 4-stroke lead and 3 holes to play. Just keep the ball out of the water and out of the rough. Just out there putting in the finishing out his round.
Yeah, nice, easy swings, Joe. Don't
Yeah.
make any, don't hit for the fences or anything like that. Just take it easy.
Certainly a stark contrast to the first 15 laps of this race for Lionel Kalisto, where I'm sure his heart was in his throat numerous times.
Of course, Australia, the home country of a golfer noted for the biggest meltdown in golf history. If you want to go ahead,
Hey,
Google Greg
easy,
Norman
easy.
meltdown. All right.
Leave the shark alone, buddy. I'm a big fan here. I had the hat. I still have that hat somewhere.
Okay, good for you.
I have a feeling that our friend Soup might have been at the betting window on that one, Joe.
Sometimes I sound a little bitter on that. No. No, my bookie does not do golf.
Well, right now, all eyes are probably on Reynolds and Kalisto, the two main championship rivals, with a few, of course, watching Josh Wolf just in case. Reynolds still leads the race. Kalisto, as we mentioned, still running in 6th, and still, as things stands currently, holds the championship in his hands.
I'm going to pull back the curtain now. There's a big debate behind the curtain here if Greg Norman was Aussie or New Zealand. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I'm in America. That should all just be one country.
I'm surprised
Ooh, don't say Soup. See, Soup's going to start another international incident, Joe. I know it.
Oh, we're hearing it's Aussie. Okay. I was going to say, I'm surprised the YouTube chat hasn't chimed in on that one.
Oh, boy.
Continue to watch this battle. Really just been a pressure cooker between Wolf and Fleischle. Not a lot of side-by-side action, but Wolf has held him within 0.8 of a second, probably since the last pit stop, and has been unrelenting, trying to get the former champion to give up the ghost.
They were battling before the pit stops. Fleischle came in a lap earlier than Wolf, and when it was all done, they ended up right back together. Both had 40-second pit stops. 1 minute exactly from cone to cone for both those drivers. So you talk about being evenly matched.
Fleischle did not like the run through Quarry and Frog Hollow, as he gave up even more time. The car was all sorts of sideways. Now as they come downhill through the S's into the dipper, Wolf staying right there on that rear spoiler. Coming off of it, though, he struggles to keep the car out of the wall. Maybe starting to smell a bit of blood in the water. They come out of Forrest's elbow. Can he get within the slipstream? This could be an opportunity. Down the Conrad straight they go. Wolf closing it down to 0.2 of a second now. The 65 gobbling him up. Jason Fleischle goes a little bit defensive. Now they come back to the line. Look to the inside from Josh Wolf. Tries to outbrick him. Tries to get the car slowed down. He's given room at the apex, but he can't get it going. It's going to stay in the hands of Jason Fleischle for now. As Bill would say, my spider senses were tingling there on that one. Wolf knew it. He tried his best to make something out of it, but the tires did not want to whoa up the car enough.
Well, whatever the sponsor is on the back of Fleischle's car, Wolf will probably want to buy some of that, whatever it is, because he's been looking at it for a long time.
Well, I don't know what's on the bumper. I know on the hood I saw Cal Speed Karting. The home place of Smitty, who also races for Alliance. Unfortunately couldn't finish out the season because he got a ride doing real-world karting. So, Smitty, we miss you. He was used to commentate for us on here. We watched him race all the time in the Pac Majors, and hopefully he's out there watching.
Yeah, Smitty, I'm glad you brought that up. Smitty's a busy guy. I'm friends with him on Facebook and always posting.
Sorry to interrupt.
There we
Josh
go.
Wolf put it into the wall. Absolutely smacked the outside of Solomon Park.
Yep, he missed the turn in just a little bit, Joe. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he damaged it too much.
He's losing time, though. Just look at...
Yeah, he's starting to drop. You're right.
Oh, this is bad for Josh Wolf. He still has that spare car.
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing the right front now. It is banged up heavy.
Boy.
Here's the decent news. I mean, he's approaching 15 laps on this stint. It's going to throw his strategy a bit off. But boy, the time he's going to lose with that damage, it might be best to come in right now, Joe.
It's already up to a second. Go ahead, Bill.
On the back of Fleischlich's car, it actually has Red Bull, so clearly Wolf needed one of those to keep concentration, as he's lost a lot of time now.
Yeah, he was sliding the car through the chase and lost another half a second, but he stays out. He's going to gut it out until his scheduled pit stop, it looks like.
Yeah, he's gonna forge on.
Ooh, oh, he was way off the apex at Murray's. He is struggling. The handling of that car is absolutely affected. There is no doubt about it at this point.
He's got 4.5 seconds back to Richie Hearn.
Man,
Keep an eye on that.
Did you see the way the tail was wagging coming through hell?
Yep. I did, Joe, and I suspect there is a bit of suspension damage on that machine, and this is going to be really a tough prospect getting around here for another lap.
He may regret that decision to stay out at this point, because now he's got Richie Hearn closing and closing fast.
Yeah, well, and he says that's it. The Wolf has put it in the den.
Oh.
Coming through the cutting.
Boy, right in front of Richie Hearn, too. I mean, Hearn just barely gets by here. You're going to see this when he spins.
I'm not sure how he got the car turned around that quickly. He managed to stay ahead of Callisto somehow. Let's watch Hearn's view, because this is a blind corner, Sean. This is your worst nightmare coming through.
Yeah, and Hearn hadn't even realized he had spun there until, of course, he clears the turn. He sees him there.
Picks the right way, thankfully. If it had been Wolf on the outside, it would have been a different story. Meanwhile, Trevor Vovrosky is in the pits. And is this scheduled, actually?
I would think this is probably be there with 45 to go. I think you're thinking this and then one more after that. That's what kind of surprised me that Wolf stayed out. I would have thought it would have been in the window. But he would know better than me.
Oh, no, I don't know that this was scheduled. Vovrosky got into the wall coming through Griffin's on that lap.
Yeah, he did, Joe. You're absolutely right. I just picked it up. We've got it on the replay. Had trouble coming down the mountain.
We're digging it up here. Oh, we had trouble again coming down the mountain. Okay, so you can see the damage on this car on the left side. He had already hit the wall in Griffin's. This is coming through the dipper. And there you go.
Oh, there it is on the replay right there, Joe.
Ow, there's...
Yeah. He joins a long list of drivers who have caught pieces of this wall today, Joe. And our leader is coming up on Travis Henderson now. Henderson in 16th place. Had just taken his pit stop about 5.5 laps ago. Here comes Reynolds.
Reynolds has led all but one lap of this race so far. 2 laps, I should say. Richie Hearn and Josh Wolf have each led one during the pit stops. He's going to easily overtake Henderson down the Conrad Straight. It's been an interesting contrast these seasons between Reynolds and Callisto. Reynolds on 6 wins, Callisto on 1. Reynolds winning in a variety of cars, we should say, too. In a number of different disciplines. But the reason he is not winning the championship is he missed too many races. He ran out of drop races. He got some zeros.
Not as many as I originally thought. He's only missed 3. Unfortunately, you get to drop 1 oval, 1 road. He missed both the opening, the Snowball Derby, and then the Eldora race. So one of those zeros had to count.
Meanwhile, You've noticed Beltrami has been having a pretty decent race, it seems, Bill.
Hard Charger. Maybe get a nice look at that paint scheme out there, racing in that Gallo salami car just for us in GSRC. Thank you for that one, Bob. Bob Beltrami up. What would that be, 9 spots, I guess?
That is right, Soup. 9 spots. And guess what, guys? Joshua Wolf just coming off the course down into the pit lane to finally get his car repaired. Lionel Callisto was catching up to him really, really quick. And Josh decides to peel off and get it fixed.
Well, that'll be a welcome relief. Question is, does he use his free repair now? Because he's late.
Yeah. God, let's hope so.
I don't know if he can afford to lose any
Yeah.
more time. Look at the right front of that car. I really use it. You've got it, buddy.
Our director's going to stay on it for a minute. Let's see if it magically fixes itself.
Usually it
Come
happens
on.
immediately. I don't think he's
Oh.
using it. I think
Okay.
he's saving it.
I'll shut up now. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah. You might have already used it, perhaps. Sean and I, we're on the same page here.
Well, Josh Wolf going to slot further down the order.
It's going to be a rough 43 laps for him.
Yeah, but he still has time to recover. That's the good news for him. I don't think he'll be looking at a podium, unfortunately, right now, held by Reynolds, Thunhorst, and Fleischle.
All right, Wolf is down and away, guys. Just for reference there.
Like running the second half of a marathon on a sprained ankle. I mean, jeez.
He's going to try it. He comes out in 11th. Now he should cycle up a little bit farther, thanks to other drivers coming in for their second stop. And I believe, actually, I'm seeing Wolf as the highest two-stopper at the moment.
Thunhorse coming in, guys. Second place, peeling off.
All right, some of our top performers now effecting their pit stops.
Right here at the halfway point.
There you can see that Alliance Evolution car looking for his pit stall. He started in second. It's going to be all the way up towards the front. We switched over to our leader, Blake Reynolds. Callisto elects to continue on. He does not pit this time. And interestingly, with Josh Wolf's problems, I think this might actually promote Callisto into 5th once this cycles through. Well, with all the cars finally sustaining quite a bit of damage, some of them being out of free repairs, we have our first retirement of the day. Brandon Chappell has DNF'd and disconnected from the server.
Looking like that damage was just too much to overcome for him.
Yeah, sad to see. But to the credit to the Pacific Majors drivers, 25 drivers starting the pro race and 24 continued on at the halfway point is an impressive feat. This track is known for its attrition and just gobbling up cars.
Sean and I, we were kind of laughing at the incident cap that they put on here. It's hard to get to the incident cap here in Bathurst with your car still racing.
Yeah, well, it's 65. I think I had said
Yeah.
64 in the pre-race. It's 65 is the incident limit. Listen, this is what we talked about in the pre-race. I don't think your car could withstand 65
Right.
incidents, to be honest, even with the free repair. As we watch Rob Gall bring his Holden down here to the pit lane and coming in for a stop.
Our leader is in, entering to find his pit stall. Jason Fleischle is coming up to the chase right now. Let's see if he follows him in. The Alliance Racing Machine approaches, holds off to the left, and he is in.
Richie Hearn gonna stay out. Does that mean is he gonna get out in front of Reynolds? Maybe Richie Hearn gonna lead a lap here.
Well,
I believe Richie ran it
he-
dry
he-
last time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he ran it all the way to the end. So actually, Richie going to lead some laps again.
Oh yeah, my goodness, he's only on 18, so he could go another 4 or 5, maybe 6 even.
Callisto elects to stay out once again as well. Clement does not.
Rob Gall telling Richie Hearn to come on. Oh, boy, in a bad spot.
telling
Here.
him to
Then a
come
quarry.
by.
Oh, man.
I'm with you, Sean.
Did a good job keeping that thing out of the tires. So Rob Gall continues on. He's actually running an 18th. Like that Fujifilm scheme he's got on his machine, though.
That is a cool looking car, isn't it? Yeah, I noticed that earlier. I was like, that's clean looking, man. I really like that.
Feels very classic. He's trying to chase down Christopher Sherburne, but he's got 14 seconds up the road to try and gain on him. Reynolds has come back out, finished his pit stop, so has Jason Fleischle. Paul Slavonic has come in for his second stop of the day.
Hopefully no seatbelt debacles for him there.
Now remember, there was about a 4-second difference between Reynolds and Thunhorst in the first stop.
Oh, trouble for Herzog, guys. Sorry about that. He had a moment to clip the wall and then was off in the dirt. He actually does a great job of saving it. Just
Let's
before
watch
he
the
got down
replay.
to the S's there.
And this is coming through McPhillamy Park. You're going to see him get too close to that apex. Wow, that could have been way worse.
Yep.
Now, what I was talking about before, significant for our leaders. Reynolds gained another 4 seconds on Thunhorst. Or actually, no, excuse me. I forgot that Thunhorst had his issues. So that wasn't the pit stop necessarily. That could have been just Thunhorst losing time from when he clipped the wall.
Yeah, it was, Joe. Thunhorst's pit stop was on par with just about every out. In fact, it was a little bit shorter pit stop for him. The deltas have been at about a minute, somewhere between about 55 seconds and 1 minute.
Jason Fleischle and Michael Thompson were in a little bit of a battle. However, Thompson has yet to pit, so he wasn't fighting that one too hard, knowing that that really wasn't his battle to fight. In fact, it looks like, nope, Thompson's going to stay out.
Top two drivers staying out, Richie Hearn and Lionel Callisto. Callisto probably coming in first. He's on a 20. It'll be his 22nd lap if he decides to go around again. He's racing a second. Hearns could go for a while, though. There he is.
Yeah,
John, you said Richie was pretty good, you've been saying.
Yeah, he was one of the really, really fast ones in practice and in qualifying. I was in a session with him yesterday in the practice session. He was just laying it down, man. A little surprised maybe he didn't qualify on the pole, honestly. Like I said, he was one of the fastest drivers all week. So, we'll have to see here. Maybe there's still a little magic left for Richie Hearn today.
You know, the interesting thing about their qualifying attempts as we watch Josh Wolf. Oh, is this an early stop for Josh Wolf?
Well, I think maybe this is Wolf saying, I need my fast repair.
He did indeed take it. The interesting thing about the way they do qualifying in the Pac Majors is once you put your first qualifying in, if you go back to do a second one, it erases your previous time. So it's kind of a game of do I dare? Do I really think I can improve?
That's kind of a throwback to the very old school way that Indy used to do their qualifying, where you could actually... You'd have to call it off right before you came across the line, because once you used it, that was it.
Well, I mean, it really is gambling, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
You think about it. I mean, it's there's nothing is certain,
Yep.
right?
As we watch Richie Hearn, he goes on for yet another lap. I'm thinking, we're gonna see it at lap 46. Callisto, however, comes in now.
Boy, I just picked up a tense moment where Blake Reynolds almost clips Herzog trying to get around him out of the chase. And then Herzog peels off in behind him into the pit. Boy,
Remember,
that was
Herzog-
close.
Yeah.
Herzog was the one that had that incident with Chappell that got a black flag. This time, though, he was pretty well clear.
Oh,
Thunhorst is upset about something.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
we have a chance. He was coming up behind McGreevy and Baval. I didn't really see the issue there.
Well,
See
it
if
looks
I
like
missed it.
Belval was coming out of the pits, and he was in a battle for position with McGreevy. Yeah, I'm not sure why he was as upset as he was.
I think it's probably a little Blake Reynolds inspired. Hard to race as fast as you can. Poor Thunderhurst, he cannot make up any time on Reynolds. He's just about 7.8 seconds back. That's just about where he's been the whole time after that spin.
And Sean, it's very easy for us to sit here and be calm and assess the situation from the booth, but the adrenaline is going, especially in a car and track like this.
It's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
your adrenaline's been going since the green flag dropped. We still have a ways to go here. I mean, we just got past the halfway point. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not to be trifled with.
I mean, you should hear the director yell at us. So, I mean, we understand what's going on.
Brian Barnes comes in for his stop. Mountain West Motorsports hits his stall. In the classic popsicle machine that Bill oh so loves.
Oh, man, it's pretty and tasty all in the same.
Oh, and Wolf has gotten some more damage. Let me see if I can find what happened to him.
Pretty good slap. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
It was in the cutting. Trouble into the cutting, Joe.
Wow, it's been such a good season for Wolf. We're going to see here on the replay. The initial braking through this left-hand kink, the car just slithers into that outside wall. It's disappointing to see it finish this way with how wonderfully he's driven for most of the races.
I'm afraid his car is in worse shape now than it was before.
Yeah, Josh, if you knew you had another wall banger in you there, keep it out one more lap and wait till you get that one out of your system before you take your fast repair. Oh, he's got to be mad watching this on the replay. Shut up, Soup. I hear you, buddy.
Michael Thompson comes in for his stop. Another of our Elite West drivers. That's going to slot him down the order.
Everybody loves Joe, but I think it's fair that we say for Sean and myself, we love all the drivers equally, okay?
Absolutely.
That's right.
Soup.
Richie Hearn's still circulating, and in fact, the only driver within the top 15 who has not taken his second stop yet.
Yeah, actually, Michael Thompson just came off the track and just came down off the jack and is back out. And you're right. That leaves Richie still running around.
Now he comes in. All right. A little bit earlier than I would have expected, honestly. It's lap 44. Thought he'd maybe try and take it to 46.
Been out there for 22. That's probably as far as he needs to go. But what that means is I would imagine he's going to fill it up all the way. Then he'll have a fast splash and go at the end.
Now that he's going to relinquish the lead back to Blake Reynolds, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back after a moment for the latter half of the Bathurst 500, the final round of the Pacific Majors. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit. We're watching the Bathurst 500 here, the final round of the Pacific Majors. Blake Reynolds still leads the race itself, but the championship is being led by Lionel Callisto, who has now moved up to 5th after Josh Wolf has had multiple troubles and has relinquished a number of top spots. And Callisto, if he finishes in this fifth position, will clinch the championship. So, as our benevolent director brings us back to air, let's check in on a battle for 8th position. Trevor Vrosky leading Travis Henderson and Michael Thompson. And Henderson had his share of scares over that break, as he almost lost it in Forest Elbow and then went very wide into Griffin's Bend less than a lap later. Right on board just behind him with Michael Thompson, the Elite West driver, trying to close in on these two drivers.
Now, earlier we talked about Thompson having 1999 points. Joe made a joke about it. He's down a little bit more. Richie Hearn racing in 4th has moved up some since then. Thompson has fallen down a little bit since then. That gap now for that West Club win is only 5 points to the good for Thompson, so he's got to be careful.
Things get ever more tense for a number of drivers fighting for different championships. Meanwhile, battle on track, 16th, Brian Barnes in the popsicle car trying to hold off Dale Green. Green was farther up the order, but he slipped back down into 17th. He's trying to get back where he started in that 16th spot, past Brian Barnes.
These guys are both 1 lap. Oh my.
Green's not going to be able to get it back that way.
As we look at these guys, they're 1 lap down, Joe. I was going to say that tip of the hat to, I guess, a lot of Dories out here. Just keep swimming right now. Barnes in this battle for 16th. If you drop back, just back to 18th position, a really good battle. Wayne Hutchison and Mark Herzog.
Absolutely. Those two, they're fighting for 19th. Or excuse me, fighting for 18th.
18th, yep.
As they come down the Conrad Straight. As you mentioned, we've got 14 drivers still on the lead lap. Now, if that progression continues, we'd be down to very few left on the lead lap. I think that's going to be a little bit harder as time goes on for them to continue to lap cars. Even still, I would not put it past Blake Reynolds to put one over on most of the field. We saw him do that essentially at Watkins Glen.
Well, he's a full second faster than most of the field, Sue. Joe, Sue, both of you.
Well,
both in here.
I'll pipe in though, but Matthew Thunhurst again continues to. I understand why he is so frustrated, because now he's 7 seconds back. He could just, Matthew's got to be saying, if I could just get those 7 seconds, I could race for the win.
There's one thing I've learned from the Pacific Majors, though. It's not over until that checkered flag falls. And especially at a track like Bathurst in the V8 Supercar, something could still yet happen to Reynolds. A mistake of his own, traffic getting in the way. We just don't know. This could go back to Thunhurst. He has got to keep pushing if he wants to maybe have a chance at the win.
Water buffalo in the middle of the track.
I don't think they have water buffalo over in Australia.
You know, maybe Google that, really.
Well,
all right.
Bill always likes to bring out that they don't have the kangaroo on the track model yet here on iRacing.
You see, and I didn't want to be cliche. That's why I chose the water buffalo there. It was wide open for a kangaroo.
GSRC not be cliche? Are you kidding, Sean? Tell you what, Travis Henderson, Michael Thompson, their fight has closed up to only 3/10.
Yeah, I'm watching this, Joe. I've been watching it here for about a lap and a half, and the struggle is real, man. Thompson looking for an opportunity here. Henderson been a little squirrely.
As they come up to the cutting, they're going to gain a little bit of ground, it looks like, on Vrosky. I thought Vrosky was starting to stretch away from these two, but he struggles into that sharp left-hander, and that gives it all back to this pair.
Boy, Henderson really working that car.
Certainly has not looked steady since the last 10 laps of this race. He was way off the apex there, coming through McPhillamy. Down into the S's they go, trying to get the cars woed up as it snakes back and forth. And that is, once again, where Vavrovsky looks so much stronger than these two. They now head down the Conrad Straight. And we see Vavrovsky start to stretch out that lead, wanting to keep hold of that 8th position. Henderson as well, pulling away from Thompson.
Of course, two teammates are Vavrovsky and Henderson, the two Grizzly drivers.
Ooh, bit of a mistake, putting two wheels in the dirt briefly. Vavrovsky coming out of the chase, and that cost him the time. It has been a yo-yo back and forth. Just when you think he's going to get away from these two, something happens, and Trevor hands them the position, or at least hands them the seconds that he gained.
As far as hard charger goes, Travis Henderson racing there in 9th in the blue car is our hard charger currently right now up, what would that be, 8 spots, 17th to 9th?
I think Henderson's more of a purple car.
Okay, in that in the spectrum of colors, it's away from red, closer to
All right,
violet.
Oh, look at them gather together coming through Griffin's Bend as Vavrovsky is trying desperately to get away. This time he actually stays a bit of a defensive line into the cutting, and that was a horrible line for him because look at how close Henderson is now as they accelerate up the hill. Oh, did Henderson actually clip the wall there? I think just got too much curb, but that cost him gobs of time.
No, Joe, he got the right side of the wall, definitely. Banged it in really strong. The car is damaged.
We'll see what this does to his handling down the hill. Certainly didn't hurt him up through the left-handers.
Now, sometimes the damage we see doesn't really equate to the damage that is in the sim universe, but I think it's a pretty good shot he took.
Well, these three spread apart after being less than a car length away from one another going up the hill. It's reversed going down the hill. Blowing it up down into the chase. Henderson shouldn't be expecting a pit stop. Should find out to see how hard it was, and he elects to stay out, so whatever the damage was, he thinks it's manageable.
Yeah, it looks like he has good enough pace. He'll want to at least get to that window of his regular stop. He's got about another probably 9 laps to go. 36 miles here in Australia. That's a lot of racing.
Let's jump down to 16th spot, because while those three have spread apart, Dale Green has closed in on Brian Barnes.
Yeah, it is a bit of a battle. It's shaping up really, really well now. Here, Joe, this is a good opportunity as they get down the Conrad Straight here.
Thought that maybe he was going to close with the way that Barnes was wide coming through Forest Elbow. No such luck. Oh, but he gains lots of ground coming down into the braking for the chase. Both cars getting it turned in nicely and up and over the crest clean. They're going to stay in order. Barnes 16th, Green 17th.
Now Green on a much different strategy than Barnes. Green right now coming around to complete 18 laps on this stint for him. Barnes only 7. But it is good to watch him battle. We've said so many times, anything can happen before this race is over. 30 laps to go.
Still quite a bit of racing on these drivers' plates. And they are going to sit until they finish their meal. At least most of them will try. So as they come up to Griffin's Bend, Green once again a little bit too far back to put on an attack, but once again we see Brian Barnes just off that apex, unable to get the car tucked in.
And you know who's got to be careful here, Joe? Richie Hearn. He's right behind them, not too far behind. Richie's sitting in fourth. The last thing he needs is those two to get out of shape in the middle of the track on him. He's already avoided one disaster.
Richie currently holding in the fourth position. He's got a big gap in front and a big gap behind. 13 ahead, 13 behind. Jason Fleischle in third, Lionel Callisto in fifth.
We look at that battle. I'm telling you, I swear the drivers must be listening to the broadcast, because as soon as I mentioned that Reynolds was not making any ground up on Thornhurst, he then opens it up to like 8.4 seconds. So I hear you, Blake.
Well, to be fair, Blake is part of the Ride and Shotgun team, and we know that they've got our own Adam Young on that team.
No, now this is the interesting news, Sean. You'll get a kick out of this. I don't know if you were with Adam talking to us. His wife, or maybe I heard it from you. His wife said he was going to watch the GSRC broadcast to see who wins the championship, rather than watch her husband. Huh?
Yeah, no, he told us that in the pre-race. Yeah, and we want to say hello to his lovely wife. And no, we got trouble here for Travis Henderson. And boy, Michael Thompson avoids him. It was right there, just coming out of McPhillamy Park.
This was multiple laps in the making. He had been working on Henderson, trying to find a way around, and it was a mistake that finally handed it to him on a silver platter. And Henderson, if we come live, just hit the wall hard, coming out of Forest Elbow.
Right in front of Clark Archer and Brian Bennett.
Let's watch that replay real quick. And this was all down to driver error, it looks like.
Right into that fucking turn.
And Sean said Falcon, we should clarify.
Yes, Falcon.
That's what he said, yeah.
A great tire supplier.
We're going to watch Clark's view. That was fourth position. That bumps Clark up into the top 10. And as we watch this, I can report that Travis is damaged enough that he spun it off coming through Murray's as well.
Yeah, I think, Joe, you mentioned it's driver error. I think it goes back to that incident that we saw earlier on where that car was really banged up. I think it was racing it for all it was worth, and it finally gave up on him.
Sad to see Anderson fall victim like that, because he has climbed quite a bit. He started this race in 17th, and even now he's still in 11th, so he had come a long ways up. We were watching Vavrovsky try to fend those two off. Well, he at least held off Henderson, but Thompson eventually got by, and we seem to have missed that one.
Well, Joe, he did, but listen, nothing's over here. Vavrovsky fighting back hard.
Trying to see if he can get that Castrol machine back into 8th spot.
And again, those points are important to Thompson as he's trying to get that club championship. He's got to watch out, make sure Hearns is racing up there in 4th.
To make it extra interesting, we should mention that Thompson and Hearn are teammates. Yeah, fighting for that championship.
And again, just to add a little more interesting, is that the points differential gets larger the farther up you finish in the order. They're like, it's about 5th position down. It's like 2 points each, 177, 169. You get the idea. You get up to the front, though, that's when you get some big points for finishing on the podium. Hearn's real close to picking up a few more if he can just get around Fleischle.
The league tries to incentivize drivers to push hard for those top spots. So we watch Brian Barnes in one of the lower positions, still fighting with Dale Green, who has now gotten past.
Okay, so we're like 2 hours into the broadcast. You gotta help me. Did we see Blake Reynolds have an incident?
I don't remember one. Nothing on my
Okay, well,
notes.
he did, and I caught it. He's got heavy left front damage. It was in force elbow.
Was that this lap, actually?
Oh my, look at that.
I think it was, Joe.
I think we've got it pulled up. Let's take a look. Trying to see if that damage is already there. No, it's not. Oh, and yeah, there it was. Just slid a little bit wide, so maybe just a grazing.
The damage I'm seeing on the left side of that car are pretty significant right now.
I'm seeing no left front quarter panel on my view.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
so-
Oh
same
yes,
here,
and
so-
that would have been on the right side. So you're right. So that was somewhere else. Well, our leader, not without his problems. He's shown he's had the pace, as he's gapped Thunhorst up to 9 seconds now. Let's see if this damage does anything to that.
See, that's what Blake gets for kind of running away from the field.
Oh, I think the commentators got into his head. You know, I said he wasn't thinking. He started to push the gap a little bit, and sure enough.
Oh, it's so easy to make small mistakes around this track and have them cost you a lot more than what they would at more modern circuits. So as he works his way through the narrow dipper, how many laps into his stint is he actually right now? Wonder if he's close enough to his
13.
pit stop.
Well, he's got to go a while. Well, it really doesn't matter how far he's in. It's how close he is to the end. 28. What, he can go maybe 23 laps to be safe, so he's got about 5 laps to go with that car in that condition.
That's if it's costing him time.
Yeah, I don't see it. Actually, I think he's actually faster. This is almost now 9.4 seconds on Thunhurst.
Yeah, and we're seeing that missing quarter panel there.
Sean, what do you say you and I look at the driver in 15th position? How about giving this guy a little love? He is leading his club. That's the Canadian club. And there are legitimate drivers. We don't see a lot of Canadians here because they're all in the AM split. But there's lots of drivers here. I'm talking about Claude Bilval. Having a nice race.
Soup, you're absolutely right. And Claude, remember, Claude started from the pit for this race. He was the one who stayed in and let everybody get by, taking it kind of safe there. And so far, so good here for Claude. He's had a pretty solid run, Soup.
Since Club West has Richie Hearn, former IndyCar driver, racing for them, maybe Claude needs to talk around the Canadian circle, see if they could get Jacques Villeneuve to come out and give them a little bit of help to get them up the points.
You know, I'm just going to reserve comment there. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to let you have that one, Joe.
I say let's bring Paul Tracy to iRacing. You want some excitement?
Oh, dear.
There you go.
Yes.
Some interesting interviews, I'm sure, afterwards.
I'm Facebook friends with Paul Tracy.
Are you
Dropping
really?
names here. Yes, I am.
Sure. Does he know that?
Oh, and Brian Barnes is in the pits with some damage. I don't believe I saw that last time we looked at him on screen. Let's see if we can find what happened to Barnes. I believe it happened up on the hill. It did indeed. Coming out of the dipper, the car lost control. We think we found it. Yep, here it is. Well, this was on the very lap before he pitted, so looks like unfortunately we're not going to be able to find it. He did take his spare car and is back out, sadly, down in 20th now. How about we check in with the Big Bad Wolf, because he was fighting for a podium before, and he is still racing, but with a lot of damage now. And Josh Wolf is continuing on in 12th, and that's respectable considering what he's been through.
Yeah, it is. I agree, Joe. Now, he is now currently a lap down. Oh, Travis Henderson actually coming in the pit here, Joe. Boy, odd time for him to come in.
Yeah, this is too early.
I don't think he can make it.
he just took his free repair as well.
Yeah, this might have been a case again of that he just couldn't keep the car out there any longer.
All right, Travis Henderson going to have to go a little bit off strategy as we switch back to Josh Wolf, who I believe is his teammate, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep, rough day for those Grizzly guys with Henderson, Wolf, and Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky, running the best of them, just inside the top 10 in 9th.
That team learning just how much of a bear this track this is. But Blake Reynolds is not so much. He's leading the way. Still 49 laps led, only a few others having ticked them off. Richie Hearn has 5 in his pockets, and Josh Wolf the only other driver who's been at the point.
We look at Blake Reynolds, that gap just doesn't go anywhere. Still 9 seconds, so damaged or not, he's pretty darn fast.
Yeah, well, and Soup, I'm glad you brought that up. But listen, I hope he's in good shape, because he is really having to muscle that car around this track. That damage is not helping him at all. I'm shocked he still turned a 2:10.6 on that last lap. It's just insane.
And remember, he cannot compromise his strategy. He needs to win the race, essentially. Now, if problems do befall Lionel Kalisto, it loosens up on him. But right now, as things stand, he has to do everything he can to try and come home in P1 and then see what Kalisto can do.
Is our points leader actually in this race? Oh yeah, Lionel Kalisto. Man, has he been quiet and fit.
Archer just got by Bobrovsky, guys.
Let's check out the replay on that one. In a place we haven't seen a whole lot of passes, actually. You're going to see as they come out of Murray's, he gets the better run. Bobrovsky holds to the outside, and Archer outbreaks him down into Hell Corner.
Yeah, you're right about that, Joe. We haven't seen many passes down there. Only a couple this evening. And we go back live. Those two still battling, but honestly, Bobrovsky had a tough trip into the quarry, and now he's got a lap car behind him. It's Brian Bennett trying to maybe get through, but like I said, Bennett certainly behind. He's a couple laps down.
And we see they're on there just to follow up on that Joshua Wolf story. You can see the Rob Gall gets around him as Wolf is limping that car around.
Yeah, and just to add insult to injury, Wolf has gone a lap down now after being in contention for a top 3. In fact, Rob Gall is the first car a lap down, so only 10 cars remain on the lead lap. Trevor Bobrovsky is the last of them. Blake Reynolds still has a significant portion of track to make up to try and get past him at least.
Dale Green coming in for what might be his last stop, or he's going to be a little short, one or the other. He
is a lap down, so he has 1 lap less to do.
Maybe
that's going to be right on the
working
cusp.
The strategy.
Just realized that Dale Green had a nice little GSRC banner up at the top. I hadn't noticed that before. Always appreciate that free advertising.
It's a ploy for more screen time. Don't be fooled.
It's working, Bill. We switch back to our leader, Blake Reynolds. Still holding just under 10 seconds over Matthew Thunhorst.
Oh, boy. That was top of the curb.
You're right about him pushing.
Just watch him for a couple minutes. The car does not look right. I mean, it's amazing what he's doing here. But the talent is taking over, but the car is a bear to handle, man.
He takes it back up onto the mountain straight. The number 67 looking to notch up his 7th win of the season. Whatever happens when this all shakes out in the points battle, you have to give a tip of the hat to Blake Reynolds for what was an incredible performance all season long. And I have to think that if time allows, Blake is probably going to be back next season, and he is going to make a charge for that overall championship. question then becomes, who can stop him?
How about a quick little love to our driver in 6th position? Don't know if we talked much about him. Give me a chance to pronounce his last name correctly. Trevor Clement. Up 2 spots. Racing in the 111 machine.
Yeah, it's had a fair bit of screen time. We've seen him in some good battles out here. You can see the car behind him exiting the pits. That was Brian Bennett, our pole sitter, returning to the track, sadly down in 23rd.
See, now remember, it's Brian Bennett, but it's Trevor Clement. Clement. Nope. Okay. See, I got it. See. All right, another $1. Well, there you go. It's just like Bennett. I got it. Piece of cake.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, or he could be like Sammy. He likes to call him Bennett. And Herzog has come in for his stop.
All with about 24 laps to go, Sean. So these are guys getting ready to go the final stint.
Final stint. Yep. And Soup, it's hard to believe that we've knocked out here now almost 60 laps. This race has had great pace. We haven't had any real major incidents. I mean, we still have a lot of cars on track. We've talked about it before. We've still got 23 in the field and running. We've only got 1 car that's actually taken it behind the wall.
And the dialogue between drivers considerably less than what we've been experiencing the last few times.
This
Maybe
is true.
having the live marshals might have something to do with it. Or
Well,
just
no,
the
it's.
racing.
I think it speaks to the demand of the track. You don't have time to talk, man.
Okay, there you go.
Josh Wolf from Grizzly Motorsports comes in and hits his stall, what is hopefully for his last pit stop of the race. And indeed, you compare this to what we witnessed last time the Pack Majors came here. There was a lot of hot heads. There was a lot of talk. And should say, actually, there was a lot of traffic incidents last season that we really haven't seen this time around.
Yeah, and when there has been a little bit of traffic, I think everybody's done a good job of getting out of the way. I seem to remember an incident with Rob Gall earlier where he did a really, really good job of moving out of the way and almost to the point of wrecking himself, but he gave way for the leader and let him through in a really, really tight. It was down at Quarry, I think that was, but we've seen that all night, and this really seems like a much better race. I know maybe we don't have as many battles going right now, but the pace of this event has been just short of amazing.
And the way that the Pack Majors mirrors real-world racing events, I don't know how you could not come here and do this race. I mean, this track, these cars is what it's meant to be for.
Speaking of pace, Michael... Oh, and Richie Hearn, he's got some damage. He made some contact with something somewhere along the way. Is it up here through Solomon and McPhillamy? I'm going to watch on board, see if we can make out any contact. Ah, there we go. It was down into the S's.
Yeah, I totally missed that too, Joe.
As we come back live,
Here
he
comes Blake
still
Reynolds.
is in 4th, but our leader, as you said, is now into his pit stall.
Is the car going to be pretty and he's done? I would imagine so.
Of course, the pit crew getting out their pledge, making sure it's nice and buffed.
Well, wouldn't it be nice if Amjad could edit in that iRacing video about the live pit crew right there? Just gonna...
Well, that's only for the Gen 6s for now, from what they say, so you might have to wait a bit before they get it to the V8 supercars. That is going to hand over the lead to Matthew Thunhorst, however, momentarily. Fleishley is going to be promoted up into 2nd, and Richie Hearn up into 3rd.
I think these might be the first laps that Thunhorst is going to get the lead here tonight, actually.
It is indeed. He has not led a single lap. And I think even if he does come into the pits, he will get this one counted as a lap led, as Reynolds should not be able to come around in time.
Boy, so much rubber on the track coming down through the S's. It's just got to be a mess trying to get down through there right now under braking.
I would not want to be offline, that's for sure. Even from my camera view up in the sky, I can see the marbles just littering the track.
And they're flying all over the place. I mean, you can see it when we were watching Thunder Horse. They're flying all over the place.
So, Sean, help me out a little bit. Does that make the racing line, does that make the grip better on the dark parts, and then because of all the marbles, it's harder when you get offline? Is that the point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to be perfect. You got to keep it in that groove. If you've got any chance of survival, you get just a little bit left or right of it, and you are in trouble because there's nothing but garbage on both sides.
We watch Richie Hearn working his way down the mountain. Matthew Thunhorse does, in fact, come in. Both these drivers pitting early with the final stint. 21 laps to go for Thunhorse, and he gets his first lap led.
And he's in.
We're just hearing when we were on board with Hearn, we caught him clipping the wall. I was looking away at that time.
Now he's got both sides with damage. Good news is I don't think he's used up his fast repair yet, and he's in his window, so he can take care of that. Meanwhile, our leader working his way through the chase right now, going through the final corner.
Also, Jason Fleischle comes in. Richie Hearn stays out. I think Richie was just trying to even the car out.
Well, you know what, Joe? You stole my thunder because I was just about to say as soon as I had an opportunity. Now it's wrecked on both sides. He may be in better shape right now.
We're seeing it's not showing up on the broadcast now. So maybe it was just the slightest of 0x touches.
Dunhurst is out, and he's going to be well behind the leader.
In fact, he's going to have Callisto between himself and the leader. Callisto yet to pit.
Richie Hearn going to race it out in front for a while. We know he can go for quite a while. He's only been out there for 16 laps.
And he lines himself up for a short pit.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe he doesn't take tires, just takes a splash of fuel to finish this thing soup.
And puts him in position for the next 5 or 6 laps for that little-known iRacing Martians attacking Australia, where the race is called, and he gets the win. So, yeah, I understand what he's doing.
Talking about things that really actually happen in iRacing. Richie will be light on fuel. I don't know about the no tires call, the way we've seen guys struggling out there, but he's going to have...
we've got trouble up in the S's, guys.
Thunhorse said that he saw it. Let's see. Was it... Oh, it's Travis Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was his Thunhorse yelling out that there's a blockage.
So light touch there for the Grizzly Motorsports driver. He is able to continue on. Thankfully, nobody was barreling in and didn't make contact with him.
It is interesting, though. Now he's fallen back to 11th, and he's really close. He's not that far ahead of Wayne Hutchison is going to be able to run down Henderson.
Oh, and Gall is chasing down Hutchison actually right now.
So a nice battle for 12th and 13th, and both these guys are going to be fast enough to get to that wounded car of Henderson.
Belval in for his pick, guys. That'll be his last one.
So as we watch the T-Mac Motorsports driver get his service done, Wayne Hutchison heads in for his pit stop, relinquishes the spot to Rob Gall. I'm starting to think that Richie Hearn might have a smart idea here, because he's going to be very fast on this last stint if he pits when we're thinking.
Joe, you're all over that. I'm feeling it too, man. I'm doing some numbers in my head and thinking, you know what? He might be able to gain enough time here. And, Reynolds had that trouble early. Now, Reynolds is faster now, but still, I like what he's doing. We'll see.
Yeah, not sure that it's going to be enough to get him a win, but could it get him up to the podium? Now down to 20 laps to go. Your current leader is waiting for his final stop.
Yeah. With Hearns, I think the interval is to Fleischle, and that's 43 seconds right now.
Blake Reynolds running in second, but is effectively our leader once things cycle through. Kalisto, who is in third, is yet to take his final stop as well. Van Horst is the next car down to have taken his last stop and can make it to the end. Hearn continues on another time. Most drivers out there driving all by themselves. Nobody is closer than 2.5 seconds apart. So at this point, this deep into the race, with no one around you and strategy working itself out, it now starts to come down to focus, to endurance. Who's still got it left in them? Who's getting sore? Kalisto comes in.
Boy, you said that. Who's getting sore? Joe, I've never done a 3-hour race here, but I've done a 90-minute one, and I was just flat pooped at the end of 90 minutes. So, yeah, sore. Definitely, indeed. A very, very demanding track.
Michael Thompson running in 6th out there in the number 314 for Elite West. Right now with Fleischle where he has basically ensured that Alliance will lock up the team's championship, the Constructors' Championship. Now, that is not for sure until we get to the checkered flag, but if he stays in this position, of course, they will take it home. For the second year running, we should say.
Yeah, Fleischle's main interest right now is probably running just some hot laps because Hearn's trying to get that interval as big as he can, see if Richie can steal a podium.
Oh, and Michael Thompson has overtaken Kalisto. Now that his stop is done, both of them should be done and to the finish. Was Thompson ahead of him before?
Nope, Thompson was well back, so he has made a lot of progress there.
So things are getting interesting for Kalisto.
And I believe, I'm sorry, Joe, I think Henderson just spun right in front of Jason Fleischle.
Oof.
Fleischle had to take evasive action.
And he's in a horrible spot right now.
Yeah.
We're going to see where he ends up here in the replay. He actually wound up taking a tow, so he's not going to try and get that car turned around.
And it was the curb. You're going to see it here. He's going to get just a little bit of the curb. It's going to upset the car. And he just can't correct it.
Wow, look at Fleischle take evasive action. Let's get an onboard with Jason.
You know, he wound up having a tow because of that. A lot of traffic coming through. So Henderson having to take the tow around. But watch Fleischle here.
That was a beautiful call on Fleischle's part because the car went one way and then it jerked back the other way. Jason had less than a second to really figure out which was the correct way to go.
He guessed right.
Yeah.
And remember, those are valuable seconds that he had to pay there because right now he's racing Richie Hearns. That's about a half a lap ahead of him. Hearn has to come in, make that stop, looking to get out in front of Fleischle.
An update on Thompson and Kalisto. Kalisto has gobbled him up and taken that fifth away from him. So I was going to wonder whether or not Kalisto just settles in behind Thompson and elects to wait it out, knowing that he doesn't have to finish much higher. And the answer is no. He wants to take this thing home as fast as he can. Of the drivers waiting to take their final stop, I believe there are none within the top 10 except our leader, Richie Hearn. With that, we're going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back hopefully around the time that Richie elects to take his stop. But don't go away because we'll bring you the finale of the Bathurst 500 here in the Pacific Majors. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit. Here we're ready to watch the final laps of the Bathurst 500. It's the final round of the Pacific Majors, and even though there are 3 drivers fighting for the championship, it now seems to be down to 2, as Josh Wolf has fallen by the wayside with problems and is well down the order. And it's up to Blake Reynolds and Lionel Callisto to decide it. Right now, it is in the hands of the number 2 of Lionel Littletrain Callisto. Although Blake Reynolds is in second, he should cycle back into first. We're waiting on the final car to take their last stop, and that is Richie Hearn, who leads the way. We're expecting a very short stop for him. 16 laps to go. We're thinking he can maybe make it to 14 laps to go if he wants to stretch it. I see that we've got a battle between Wolf and Vovrovsky. Those two are teammates.
Yeah, not as much as a battle as maybe just a mercy killing right now. Wolf's car is really, really, really sick. Vovrovsky, he's had his issues as well, but he's getting them pretty quick.
So is the sick ones in the pack that get picked off. Unfortunately for Josh, that is him today. I don't anticipate him fighting Vovrovsky too hard. Vovrovsky as well is trying to make his own comeback. He started in 9th. He's currently in 12th. Not going to be a net gain for him. I think if we were looking for a weak spot on the Grizzly Motorsports team, it's looking like either the V8 Supercars is, a defensive move from Wolf. He maybe doesn't want to give it up to his teammate.
There's no rules in that team. It's the Wild West out there.
It's going to make him go the long way around Murray's. I expect the over-under, to be honest. And there it is right there with a big slide coming off the corner from Josh Wolf. The acceleration goes to Vovrovsky, and as they reach Hell Corner, Vovrovsky's going to have him easily, it looks like. Wolf's going to think about coming back at him.
Just because I know these guys, you got to stay here for a minute. There he goes.
Well, he's going to let him get a nose in, though. Question is, can he brake deep enough to stay to the apex inside of Vovrovsky? So they come down to the corner. They're still side by side, giving a little bit of late race action here. And Vovrovsky out in the marbles, just can't find any grip. It's going to go back to Wolf for a bit.
Soup, it looks like the WSU all over again.
There it is.
Yes.
Well, see, that's why they chose, when they were originally thinking of what animal they were going to name their team after being in the Northwest, they had like duck and beaver, and they said, no, we're the Grizzlies, because we're that type of team. So you can see them clawing it out right now.
Not going with Sasquatch?
Sasquatch would have been really good.
Well, with them at the top of the mountain, unfortunately, Vovrovsky's got no way around him and has to wait patiently for now.
Oh, Richie Hearn has finally come in.
Found the limit of that fuel tank, and as we predicted, 14 laps to go.
Fleischle is out of Forest Elbow now, heading towards the chase. I think he'll probably get there. Callisto
goes
is
past.
Yeah, Callisto is yet to get out onto that back straight, so
Funhorst streams on by, and Fleischle's now coming out of the chase. Is Richie Hearn still stationary?
He is, Joe.
and
Now he's away.
He's rolling. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Like,
I don't think he took tires. I don't think the car went
I
up.
thought I saw him come down off the jack.
I did not, Joe. I did not see that car come down off a jack. The clearance on these cars is very low, but I did not see that car come down.
I'm almost positive that he did not go up. So that's why he's out in front of Fleischle, but Fleischle is going to be a lot faster.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a game of survival now because Richie Hearn has only 7 seconds and 14 laps to try and fend off a Jason Fleischle with much fresher tires. And Lionel Callisto is nowhere to be seen behind them. He's a whole 30 seconds back of those two. So if they start fighting, that's for the podium, and they can fight all they want as long as they don't wreck each other. It's going to go to one of them.
7 seconds, 14 laps, 2 seconds a lap. That's why I'm here.
Might want to check your math on that one, Bill.
That's not it. That's
half a second.
half a second a lap. Oh, well, that's
This
well, Joe.
is
That's
why. This is
What?
why we don't do math at GSRC, guys. Jeez.
Oh,
We're really going to have to hire a mathematician. I really think so.
Well,
where's Poindexter and
Schuster,
Simon
yeah.
and Poindexter.
Simon and Poindexter.
There's a huge difference between 2 seconds a lap and a half a second a lap. This is all over. There's no way that Fleischle can not get there now.
So as Blake Reynolds re-inherits the lead, the championship situation, if I could speak,
Easy, Joe.
is currently sitting in favor of Kalisto. If he can stay in this 5th position, it is his. And this is going to be significant if Lionel can do this in these final 13 laps. He's said before, the reason he took this number 2 is because he's finished 2nd so many times in the championship. He puts a lap on Bob Beltrami. You have to wonder, if he wins it, is he going to change the number? Is he going to make it into something else for a season? We were watching that battle between Vovroski and Wolf. Well, Vovroski finally got past his teammate. That's going to put him up to 11th.
Sean,
Yes.
8.3 seconds between Hearn and Fleischle.
Right.
Now I don't need
Yes.
to be a mathematician, but I do know that 8.3 is bigger than 7. So
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the interval's getting larger, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've lost all my confidence, but I'm
Yeah,
good
you know
about
what? Hey, listen. Richie Hearn has maybe gambled himself into a 3rd place finish. I didn't really mean that. He's earned this, and I think he had a good strategy. I do think he learned a little something through I think it was 85-something laps he ran in practice leading up to this. I think he's in good shape.
So as Blake Reynolds leads for that ride-in shotgun team with that wood-paneled car up at the front, we have one of his teammates who has joined us in the booth. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the broadcast, being down in the AM split. Adam Young from Ride-in Shotgun. Unfortunately, is not going to be able to find the checkered flag, but he is going to give us a little bit of insight. First off, commiserations, Adam. Secondly, we're watching your teammate lead the way. We know that he has to do this to try to take the championship. What do you think so far about his performance?
Well, I can tell you that this is probably about the calmest I think I've seen Blake in a Pac Majors race in a long time. He's not talking a whole lot. He's focused. He's really, really dead set on just doing the best he can, and a little bit of inside intel. I think his wheels starting to give him trouble too. He's having problems with some downshifting there a few minutes ago too. This is the only time I've heard him get riled up a little bit here today. So he's focused. I mean, he's doing what he needs to do.
Certainly seems like it. He's led the vast majority of these laps so far with only 12 to go. He does look likely to take home this win and get his 7th of the season, and that begs the question, do you think he's going to come back next season and try to make a serious run at taking home the Mario Andretti's trophy?
Well, you know, he's kind of, I think, teased us a little bit by trying to say he's not going to come back, but I definitely think if he doesn't come away with a championship that he'll be back. He wants that trophy, and I know he loves the competition here in the Pac Majors and everything else too, and I think he's just joking around more than anything when he says it.
The other thing that we talked about on air was that the Ride-in Shotgun team has really performed well this season despite not showing up on our points graphic. Is that another thing next season that you guys maybe will give a serious go at and see if you could take it away from Alliance, who are looking to take it for the 2nd year in a row?
Well, first of all, Alliance is just amazing, and we've got nothing but the utmost respect for him. I think that, Lionel right now running in 5th, if he's able to come away with this championship here today, I mean, heck of a job by him. And I don't want to take anything away from the Alliance guys, but we want that we want that team championship too, and we're working at it. We've got a couple of additions to the team next year. Still working with the guys that we have, seeing who's going to come back, who's not. And I think with the changes in the team rules that we're going to have for 2018 too will help us out a little bit. We were hurt right at the beginning of the season by losing a few guys changes in career and stuff like that. I mean, we had Taft Baldwin, who was able to run the first race and then had a career change right away. It was very sudden, very quick, but very good for him on a personal level, so great. But it hurt us from a team standpoint. We were immediately down a driver right off the bat.
And that was, we felt the same as you guys. It was disappointing at the same time that it was thrilling to watch for him and getting that job opportunity. Well, sorry that you were able to come and talk to us, but we're glad that we at least got to hear a little bit of what's going on inside the Ride and Shotgun team during this race. That number 67 has really been impressive in that V8 supercar around Mount Panorama Circuit. In the meantime, it sounds like, Sean, that Hearn, and things have changed now.
Yeah. There was a moment there, it seemed like the last lap, he was a full second better than Thunhorst, and it looked like he had some legs there to maybe catch him, and then all of a sudden he's now a second slower than Thunhorst this most recent lap by. So I don't know, he's running out of time. Maybe we've only got about 10 and a half laps left here. We're working lap 71. So I thought, I don't know, we'll keep an eye on it, because it's certainly not done and dusted. Thunhorst still got to turn in the laps, but Hearn, like I said earlier, he's kind of worked himself here in a podium position, 7 spots, and he's taking care of the car, and he had a good strategy, obviously.
Yeah, Sean, don't sell yourself short. The interval's coming down. I mean, it's 13-2, 13-1. He's coming, and he's coming in a pretty good hurry. 11 laps is an eternity here at Bathurst. I think he might be onto something here.
Well, only time will tell. He is definitely pushing the car hard, and that's something that maybe not always a good thing here at Bathurst. Would you agree with that, Adam, as far as pushing the car too hard?
Yeah, and I'll tell you that honestly, for me, I felt like my fastest laps were the ones where I felt like I was going slow. If you don't push the car here, less chance of something happening. And, the reason why I'm out of the race is a bunch of 0x wall contacts. I didn't even hit the wall hard and he broke the suspension. The harder you push the car, the more chance you have of something to happen. I keep the tires cool. That's one thing we've been preaching to our guys. Keep the tires cool, and you're not going to do that by pushing the car.
Did your wife actually watch? Which split did she watch, Adam?
She watched you guys. Not gonna lie, she didn't even watch me. At least as far as I know, I haven't talked to her since the whole thing started.
Thanks, honey.
Well, we did talk quite a bit about those tires and the effect that they have over the course of a stint. We saw some drivers seemingly struggling. In fact, some teams, the differences in setups. And did you guys notice that make a big difference in everybody using a similar setup? Adam, did you guys kind of have a team setup, or does everybody approach it their own way?
We have a team set up this go around. As we have most of the season. There's only been a couple of races where we've kind of done our own thing, but I know that even a couple of independent guys, Texas guys, ended up with our setup too. So, granted, most of them ended up in the AM split, but that's okay. Everybody was kind of competitive. The thing with our setup though is that we knew we would be good on the long runs. We knew we kind of might hurt a little bit in the short runs, and that was fine. We worried more about tire conservation. And I'll tell you, Alliance kind of caught us a little bit off guard. We ran a fun race earlier this week, and we felt like our long pace was going to be better than Alliance, but from everything I've been hearing is that Thunhorse has for the most part been able to keep pace with Blake pretty well for the most part.
In the meantime, I noticed that Brian Barnes has taken another pit. Was this scheduled?
I don't think it was, Joe. I'm trying to see if maybe there was an incident there that led to this.
Yeah, I didn't see anything as I rewound. I'm trying to remember if he was off strategy due to an earlier incident potentially. That does push him down the order to 17th, sadly.
Yeah, he'd have been real lucky to finish, Joe. Actually, that was 15 laps on that stint with him, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he might have been short here at the end.
Let's check in on our fight for that West Club Championship, though. Remember, that was between Richie Hearn and Michael Thompson. And
Yep.
Bill, I'm looking at it. I think Thompson has gone down, hasn't he? And Richie's gone up.
Here's what's up. Right now, there's that Hearns is back to, Thompson is back to that party like 1999 points, but Hearns is up to third. If he can get to Thunhorst, I think we have a tie. I think they end up in a deadlock tie. And Sean, guess who ran the fastest lap that last lap?
You are correct, sir. Richie Hearn. Yeah, he went 2:08. Nobody's done that in a while, actually.
Are you sure he doesn't have some magic jacks in that pit crew that they could slip some tires on?
Well, I got to be honest with you. When I practiced yesterday with him on track, it seemed like he was turning in some of his best laps of the session. So maybe he was indeed working on something just then. I feel like a lucky guy right now, actually. Shame I didn't ask any questions.
Well, if he comes in for an interview, you might still get a chance to ask him.
I'll say this: you bring up Richie setting that fastest lap. That as far as I can tell, that beats Blake's even fastest lap of the race. And the first time he's been down in the 8s this time.
Yeah, you're right, Adam. I can confirm that. Yep, he was about about 100th faster.
Richie right now, the driver on fire, as he actually went way wide coming through Forest Elbow, but keeps it out of the wall. We're watching Reynolds at that point. There you can see the Elite West driver with a whole car, but clawing his way forward to see if he can get a hold of Matthew Thunhorst. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to, though. With only 9 laps left to go, it's going to take a mistake probably from Matthew for him to overtake the Alliance Evolution driver.
You know what, Soup? I am gonna go out on a limb here and
Let's
say
go to
that-
Dale Green. I think
Oh,
just
go ahead.
happened. Is this? Let's make sure I'm up to date.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it did. It did.
We're going
Big
to watch
trouble
the replay.
Yeah, big trouble in the cutting there. Tries to cut the corner a little bit too much, Joe.
Ooh, he cut it quite a lot, and you're going to see him actually bounce upwards as he clips the inside wall there. Wow. And that sent him flying into the outside wall. Let's watch and see what it was like from his onboard. He had to take a tow due to the damage.
He wheel hops the wall.
I think he actually hit the outside wall first, and then that kind of sent him ricocheting to the inside wall earlier than he expected. This is a sad end for a driver that had done a good job working his way up the order. Unfortunately, I do not think he is going to see the checkered flag with only 8 laps left and clearly not a free repair left. And in fact, of our DNFs, I see Ray Partridge is in his pit stall and he's in the car, but I do not believe he is returning to the track.
Yeah. No, I don't think so, Joe. He's been in there for quite a while, actually. Yeah. I don't think he's even going to make it back on track, to be honest with you.
That's 2 DNFs, potentially 3, depending on if we see Dale Green manage to bring the car back out. An impressive day if 22 cars out of 25 finish after a 500-kilometer race here at Bathurst.
I'd say mission accomplished and well done to Mike Willett and the organizers of all these great races.
Now down to 7 laps to go, and Reynolds continues to push the envelope. He's got a 13-second lead over Thunhorst.
He wants Michael Thompson right now. Blake gets like this. He wants to see how many cars he can put a lap down.
Indeed, only 9 left on the lead lap out here. Not as crazy as it was at Watkins Glen, where he lapped the entire field. I think bar 1. I think he didn't get second place. And actually, he's got Thompson right in front of him now.
Yep.
Right on board with our leader. And there, that flash of yellow, that is Michael Thompson. I don't blame him for pushing, though, Sean. You have to get into Blake's head at this point, knowing what his situation is. it's all or nothing. He has to win this race no matter what.
Yeah.
So might as well just go all out.
It's win or go home, isn't it, Joe? I mean, it's I know that's cliche, but no, he really there's
Is his back against the wall, Sean?
yes, it's back against the wall.
Is he taking one lap at a time?
One lap at a time.
All right,
Joe.
I'm done now. Continue your thought.
No, but no, seriously, yes, he's got to continue to push here. The end is in sight. Just keep doing your job here. You'll get this figured out. He's been awful great during this race today.
Now, Blake Reynolds Michael Thompson just got on the radio and asked Blake Reynolds to lap him because I believe Thompson said he was a lap shy on fuel.
That's amusing.
So, interesting development from the Elite West drivers.
I know we've been in a couple of endurance events, Joe, where it was like, let it pass.
Yeah. Well, that raises questions about Richie Hearn as well. He's an Elite West driver. Are all of their calculations just slightly off?
Well, Hearn's been getting great mileage, so he's been going long the whole time. Hey, Sean, look at that interval. Hearn's got it down to single digits now.
Yeah, he does. Soup. He continues to gain ground here, and I just think he's going to run out of laps. I think maybe if he had,
you know what?
10 more laps.
What I think he is doing though is it keeps Thunhorst honest. At least he's got to still drive the car.
Okay, so Thunhorst is watching his relative if he doesn't have a man on the box. If he's got a man on the box, he's told him to turn it off. He doesn't want him to look at it.
If we can maybe give ourselves a Dory Award for today, I want to hand it to Brian Bennett. After starting on the pole, having multiple problems, he's down in 21st spot. He's 3 laps down from the leader, but he's still going, and he's not in last place, we should mention. Travis.
Oh! There's a crash Ford position.
And
20th spot.
That was Bennett. So that's why we're giving the Dory Award to Brian Bennett, who you would expect would really be interested in these lower positions, but he is continuing on and he wants to see this checkered flag.
Yeah, poor Christopher Sherburne had been plugging away and makes one mistake, and Bennett took advantage of it.
That was like a commentator's curse that this kind of missed its target.
and Sherburne is limpy. He might actually have to retire this car. Credit to everybody who sees the checkered flag today. And Sherburne getting on the radio explaining his situation, making sure nobody behind runs into him. In fact, the next one is Jason Fleischle. Thankfully for him, I don't think he's going to catch the limping car before he reaches the pit lane. So we watch Sherburne slowly bring it through the chicane and down into pit lane. Now he's safe. Jumping a little farther forward, in 15th position, Mark Herzog has Brian Barnes trying to charge back through.
I'm keeping an eye on this one, Joe, and Barnes been working on this here for a moment. You know, Barnes started in 20th, the top 15 run. I think you'd have to feel pretty good about that. Herzog had trouble early in this race, so fought through a penalty. Still running well. That's exactly where he started. After 77 laps, I think I'd feel pretty bad if somebody took that position away from me. I think I'd like to keep it at this point. So this could get pretty good.
And they're coming up on Paul Slavonic, who looks to be slower than these guys, even though Slavonic is racing on the lead lap in 7th.
I feel like Barnes maybe is a case of what could have been. Remember, he had a couple mistakes, was put off sequence, and lost a lot of time. So for him to have gained spots despite all of that, to me, says maybe he was planted in the top 10.
You know what? Barnes is a lot better on tires, too. These tires are only 5 laps old. And, boy, that may really allow him the advantage he needs to get around Herzog here. It looks like we've got 5 laps left, guys. Yeah, 5 to go.
They come out of the final corner. Can't do anything on Herzog for now. I would have expected the fresh rubber to really give him a lot better traction, give him runs out of these tight bends where mechanical grip is important. Oh, a big mistake from Herzog, though, is going to hand it over easily as he is now handicapped up the mountain straight. And Barnes now moves into 15th.
Barnes goes to second in the Legends category.
Curious what that trophy looks like, Bill.
It's a gold bottle of Bengay on top of a marble.
Nice.
Now, see, I would have thought that it would be just a chrome ball. No, because it'd be a chrome dome.
Okay, I got it.
Had to make sure that one got driven home.
Yeah, I'm just not touching it.
Didn't want to leave the guys hanging.
Oh, jeez. It's that hole that Soup was digging earlier tonight.
Well, we want to thank Adam Young for coming in and joining us and giving us some insight. And, well, we hope you get to enjoy a bit of a celebration with Blake afterwards if he takes the win home.
Yeah, we're hoping so. And we'll watch the broadcast tomorrow, guys. Pretty sure it was a good show knowing you guys.
He's
Thanks,
coming your
Adam.
way, honey.
4 laps to go for Blake Reynolds. If I was him, I would consider this championship worth it. This second place and well earned, fighting his way back forward race after race. And how about Matthew Thunhorst as well? He started in second position. He's looking like he might finish in second position. Depends on what Richie Hearn has to say about that. But this has been a cool, calm, and collected run from Matthew.
Hearns has knocked off another second, got it down into the 7s. Page 17 of the GSC Commentator's Handbook. Read it, Sean. Put in drama whenever you can. So.
Yeah, absolutely, Soup. And you know what? Thunhorst is really got to guard against making a mistake here because the slightest mistake, Hearn's going to get that spot.
And the mistakes we've seen have certainly been costly for a number of drivers. We've seen drivers such as Josh Wolf fighting for a podium, now down in 12th. We've seen, of course, our pole sitter, Brian Bennett, fall way, way back, now down in 20th position. Brian Barnes, we mentioned. Oh, and Richie Hearn is in. Richie Hearn is into the pits.
What? What in the wide world of sports is going on around here?
Pull out your favorite line about the fuel.
What happened?
Well,
And Fleischle gets him.
So
it was Joe Peak who said he had to question that team's pit strategy. And I said,
Yeah.
Joe, come on.
Will he stay ahead of Callisto? Yes, he will. He's well out ahead of him.
Ugh.
And that may be why he was pushing as hard as he was.
Well, hello, podium, Jason Fleischle.
That's also good news for Michael Thompson. It looks like he's going to be able to lock up now that West Championship.
And you know what? Now, I don't want to give anybody any win here. There's still 2.5 laps to go. So I don't want to throw that at anybody. No unneeded pressure there.
Oh, wow. How gutting is that for Richie Hearn, the Club West driver? Yeah, I am too. We're not supposed to play favorites, but it seemed like after he always seems to have good runs ruined for him by extenuating circumstances. Sad to see him slip off the podium with 3 laps left on it.
Well, it wasn't the track that bit him this time.
Yeah, well, that was his own undoing, we have to say.
It was beauty that killed the beast.
Unless it was his crew chief that got the calculations wrong, Sean. Just throwing that out there.
Thanks, man. Oh, boy.
We're getting some information. You're hearing that Clark is going to be close on fuel due to a calculation error. And so, yeah, there we go. He just got lapped. I was looking at Richie Hearn. Let's see, where is Clark Archer? He's just ahead of his teammate, Blake Reynolds. We understand that he's going to let him go by so that he can maybe finish the race here. Wow, we have not talked about the fuel strategy in this form or fashion, and here at the end of the race, we've now seen multiple drivers have issues with their fuel calculations.
You know, Director brings up a great point. Is Blake good? Is Blake going to make it?
He's got a 15-second gap.
Same wood-paneled cars.
He can afford to lift a little here, I think. He's got quite a gap ahead of Thunhorst.
I'm keeping all my data from this race. I do some
Right.
investigative work that needs to be done here.
But I mean, he doesn't need to. Nobody can lift more than Clark. I mean, Clark's in 8th position, and he's running. It's be interesting to see how long he's been racing for. Archer's only been out there for a stint of 18 laps.
Yeah.
Reynolds for 20, unless they're being
They might have
stingy
fueled
on how much they put in on that last stop.
Well, exactly right.
That's what I was thinking. They're trying to make the stops as fast as possible. Well, it's 2 laps to go, and this time by, Blake Reynolds will get the white flag. This will determine it. If he stays out, he thinks he's got enough fuel. He's coming up to his teammate, Clark Archer, who is still not let him by fully. Out of Murray's corner, he's committed. Blake Reynolds takes the white flag. 1 more lap in this 2017 season of the Pacific Majors.
Well, I mean, is Archer going to let him pass or not here? I mean, Archer seems to be... I guess all he has to do is let him pass there at the end.
They want a good team picture.
I could totally see riding shotgun doing that, to be honest. So after all of these laps, as we said, over 67,000 of them this season, and with 6 wins in his pocket, a potential 7th looming over the horizon for Blake Reynolds, he still is looking like he's going to come up short. And I believe, actually, with all the cars that have been lapped, Lionel Callisto has now wrapped it up, sitting in 5th position currently. I don't think he can be overtaken enough times to lose out down to 13th. Through the S's one more time, and he closes very much on his teammate, does our leader. Archer's still not giving way. Maybe he's changed his mind. Maybe he thinks he has enough now. They're coming up on some more lapped cars. That's Dale Green ahead of them, with a 17-second lead now. It's looking like smooth sailing for Blake Reynolds. They fly down the Conrad Straight. An incredible 7 wins for Blake Reynolds, the only driver to take multiple wins in this season. The ride-in shotgun car with that Texas flag on top and the wood paneling all around exits the chase with 1 more corner to go. He waggles it back and forth, comes through Murray's Bend, and Blake Reynolds is going to take his 7th win of the season. And loops it around, and he's going to do it backwards with some style. Thunhorst is going to take a nicely earned podium. He didn't have anything for our leader in terms of pace, but a nice quiet run from Matthew in the number 98 is going to give Alliance Evolution a nice finish to the season. And how about Alliance Racing? Jason Fleischle on the podium in the dying stages of this race. This will give Alliance its 2nd Teams Championship. The Constructors goes to Alliance with the number 77, clinching the 3rd place spot in this race. Richie Hearn just off of it, 10 seconds back from Jason. That has got to be gutting. Still a great finish. And then how about our championship winner, second place multiple years in a row. The number 2 is no longer number 2 in the points. Lionel Little Train Callisto. It was his teammate last year who finished just ahead of him on the road in this race, Jason Fleischle, who took home the Mario Andretti trophy. This time, it's gonna be Lionel Callisto who wins the championship in 2017. Celebrating back and forth. I'm not sure if it's relief, excitement, or what that he's feeling, but as he drifts it around the first corner, I'm sure there is joy mixed in there.
Yeah, congratulations to Lionel Callisto. What a drive today.
Clement follows him home.
Bob Beltrami was able to get around Joshua Wolf's, whose car is looks like it's sputtering to the end here. He's out of fuel.
Wolf. Yeah, Wolf's out of fuel.
So that means going right by, he says, excusez-moi, was Claude Belval.
And we didn't see it, but Thompson did seal the deal over Richie Hearn as he took home a 9th spot. With that, we're going to take us to break. We'll be back after a moment to give you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But stick around because on the screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit. We just watched the season finale of the Pacific Majors Round 14. It was a good one with lots of action out on track and plenty of twists and turns, just like the championship was. And up at the top, it was Blake Reynolds. And despite him taking home the win for the 7th time this season, it was not enough to overthrow Callisto for the championship. Matthew Thunhorst came home behind him with a quiet second, and Jason Fleischle, who we weren't sure was going to be on the podium, wound up there anyways and took home and sealed the Constructors' Championship for his Alliance team. Richie Hearn was in third for much of the late race time. Unfortunately, he had to come in for one final stop because he was short on fuel. Lionel Callisto, as we said, clinched the championship with a 5th place finish. He had one win this season, and that 5th place was all he needed. 13th or better would have done it for him. Trevor Clement, of course, came home behind him in 6th with Paul Slavonic finishing in 7th. Clark Archer was in 8th with Michael Thompson sealing that Northwest Championship, the club championship, in 9th position. Rob Gall rounds out our top 10. Bill?
Trevor Borowski in 11th, just ahead of Bob Beltrami. The Canadian driver, Claude Bilval, gets 13th position. Mark Herzog after him. Brian Barnes able to bring the popsicle machine home in 15th. Joshua Wolf ran out of gas, finishes the first car 2 laps down, ahead of Wayne Hutchinson. 18th spot goes to Bart Workman. Didn't hear much from him. Brian McGreevy gave a scare to Matthew Thunhorst, but they get it all worked out. McGreevy comes home in 19th, and in 20th, Christopher Sherburne. Crackers?
Yes, sir. And then we'll go down to 21st place. It's going to be Brian Bennett. Tough night for Brian. But you know what? As we said earlier, he did a great job fighting through it and staying on track. Travis Henderson, 22nd for him. Dale Green, 23rd. Ray Partridge, 24th. And Brandon Chappell, unfortunately, was our first victim tonight, guys. And he will finish 25th. Only completed 31 laps tonight.
We have our race winner waiting in the wings, Blake Reynolds. We've talked to him a lot, and we're going to get to talk to him again about what was a dominant performance. But unfortunately, Blake, it seems it was a day late and $1 short in terms of the championship.
Yeah, I told myself right from the start, just go out and win the race. It's the best I can do. Fortunately, in practice, Lionel, not unfortunately, it's good for him, but yeah, he had the pace throughout practice, and I just didn't think that it would be able to clinch up the championship here. So, yeah, I definitely got the Vettel feeling today.
Well, talk to us a little bit about your pace during the race, because we were watching you, and even when you had no one around, it seemed like you were taking that car right to the edge. Were you just going all out no matter what, trying to go as fast as you could?
Well, when everything's on the line, I just have to push the car the same way. That's just the entire feeling I had the whole race. Just gotta keep pushing the car, even though the tires were overheating. I didn't care. Just gotta dig, man.
We could tell from our view in the booth. Now, we heard that a little bit of talk has happened within the team about next season, and we're curious as well with how dominant you've been. Are you going to come back, and are you going to try and take it next year?
That wasn't originally the plan because I thought I would have a bit closer gap to Lionel. I originally thought, with the streak I was on, I thought I would have a really good chance actually to clinch it here. But with the mods last weekend and Lionel taking the win, the gap was just far too large, and his race today was really good. So yeah, it was just difficult.
Well, again, even though I'm sure there's a bit of disappointment in it, congratulations on an impressive 7th win. 7 out of 14 rounds. You won half the races this season. That is something to be proud of. Go celebrate with your team, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Thank you.
That was Blake Reynolds, who, as we said during the broadcast, really, we tip our hat to what was something he should just be incredibly proud of. Now, we do have our second place driver, and here for Alliance Evolution, Matthew Thunhorst. Bill is going to be talking to him.
Matthew, 3 questions for you. Let's start off early on in the race. It looks like you had the pace to run with Blake. In fact, you almost made an attempt to take the lead.
Yeah, I did. And I was racing at his pace, and I guess you could say that's just a little bit of lacking experience being up front in the road. And there for a while, I was hanging with him. I was lucky enough to hold his draft to keep me in there. And there at the end of the first pit stop, I just lit the tires up, and they were just telling me no. They were tired.
Then you had a little issue, cost you, even when he got away from you were able to hang in about 3 seconds back. Then you had an issue, you fell about 7 seconds back, never able to make up the gap after that.
Yeah, Blake was just too fast, and when that issue happened, I'm sitting there thinking I'm catching up to him, I'm starting to get to him, and then all of a sudden I hit McPhillman wrong, I think, and the car did the whole pop-a wheelie, and the tire hit the wall, and I'm just going, oh no, here's the meatball, and I was in shock. I was like, oh, they just went the entire race, and then I forgot to brake for the downhill. But I was fortunate enough to avoid the meatball, and I apparently hit the tough part of the car, not the fragile parts.
Let's jump to the end when you had Richie Hearn. We were watching, he was closing in a little bit. Were you worried, or did you feel confident you had enough gap he wasn't going to get to you?
I was watching him, but at the same time, too, it was just, yeah. I won't say I was worried, but I was like, yeah, I can't slack off here right now.
Well, congratulations on a good one. First of all, you get the Great Plain, come on in there and get second place today. You win that course, that club championship, second overall here today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you have it, Joe, our second place finisher, Matthew Thunhurst.
We also have the last of the podium finishers, Jason Fleischle, waiting in the wings to talk to Sean about what might be a little bit of a surprise finish for him.
Yeah, Jason, did you have any indication that Hearn was short on fuel? Jason Fleischle, our third place finisher. Can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I got to push the right button. That helps, Sean.
Did you have any idea Richie was short on fuel?
No. I thought he had the podium wrapped up in the bag. I even got on the radio when I saw him go in the pits. I got on the radio, a little bit after, and told him so that I thought he had it. So tough break.
Yeah, well, Joe was onto something. He felt like that maybe the entire team may have missed the fuel strategy just a bit, and boy, that caught us all off guard seeing Richie come in. It was a real head scratcher. But listen, I don't know if you've looked at your average for the race, but man, it was a 2:10.5 for the entire race. I mean, your laps were consistent throughout. I'm looking at all 81 of them right now, aside from pit stops and the deltas. You were on it, man. It was all about pace for you. Were you feeling that in the car? Was that your mission? Was just to keep a good, solid, consistent pace throughout?
Yeah, this type of race, endurance, just take it to 95% and don't cross over that. I was racing the mountain first, and that's kind of what I told all the Alliance guys to do. Race the mountain first, worry about who's around you second. So, and I was actually down on speed the whole run, because that first stint, I got a little bit squeezed in the wall. Wolf got a little aggressive on the top. Not his fault that I brushed the wall. He left me plenty of room, but it was a little aggressive. But ever since then, I was down at least a half a second on speed the whole run.
Well, listen, it was magnificent to see you get on the podium. Let's face it, the only way you top your effort from last year is to win it again, right?
Yeah,
you were
absolutely
within striking distance, man.
Yeah. I had the pace to contend for the win for that one until the brush with the wall, and then I just elected to keep that fast repair in my pocket because I was thinking big picture. Need to be up in the top 10 at least. So, yep.
Well, hey, man, congratulations. Go ahead and go celebrate that podium finish, and we'll look forward to seeing you next season, my friend.
Well, I got a few people to thank, if that's all right.
Oh, please do. Yeah, get it in.
Right. I wanted to quickly thank Mike and the committee for the 2017 season, all the work, all the hard work they did, all at the same time planning 2018. I wanted to thank Richie and Elite West for giving us a hell of a run this season and really pushing us. Same with Riding Shotgun, and congratulations to Blake on yet another win. He's an amazing driver. What a talent! I hope he gets a shot in the real world if he aspires to that. Congrats to Matt for second. And I'd like to thank all my Alliance teammates, BB, Lionel, Matt, Trevor, Patrick, Mark, and Paul. And just love to announce that the Alliance core team will be, we're promoting Matt and Trevor into the core team for next year. So we'll have a couple open vacancies on Evo to backfill.
Breaking news. Did you hear that? They'll have some vacancies to fill. So thank you, Jason, for sharing that information with us, brother.
Thanks a lot, Sean, Joe. Thanks, guys.
All right, and that was Jason Fleischle. Joe, you ready to cover your next interview here?
Absolutely. We have up waiting in the wings Lionel Little Train Callisto. We've talked a lot about cliches during this broadcast, and I'm going to bring out another after seasons of trying and coming home in second place. How does it feel to finally win it, Lionel?
It's amazing. I honestly don't know what to say. It was a long year. It was struggling, but I'm very happy. I know the last 2 years I came in second, and it was disappointing. But I know like Jason won last year, which I was pretty happy with him. But yeah, I didn't want to come second again this year, so I needed the push. But yeah, I'm super stoked.
Now, you had the track to yourself mostly throughout the race, but we were watching you on those first 15 laps. Tell us a little bit about what your experience was like, where it seemed like everything was erupting around you.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. Like especially the first corner or the start of the race when Brian wasn't going. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be brutal. Just trying to avoid. I was getting pressured. I was just trying not to make mistakes throughout the run. I wasn't fast enough to keep up with the top five guys, but I was just trying to be consistent and trying not to wreck the car either. But yeah, it was something.
And of course, apologies for the language to our viewers, but this season has been such an interesting one. You did manage to take one win, but of course, Blake had you outpaced at a lot of the tracks, him taking half of the wins of the season. Does that give you a little bit of concern for trying to defend that crown, or do you feel pretty confident that maybe winning it once will give you that extra oomph next year?
Yeah, I'm going to have to definitely try. I know if he had one more race, he would have definitely won the championship. I know he missed a couple. But yeah, next year is going to be interesting. Definitely going to have to try even harder now to try to defend the championship.
Well, get some trophy buffer for yourself because you got that Mario Andretti trophy coming your way soon. Congratulations on both the top 5 and the 2017 championship crown, sir.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to be celebrating next week at Vegas. And then I also like to thank my teammates too. Jason, Brian, then all the Evolution guys, Patrick, Paul, Mark, Trevor, Matt. Those guys, I wouldn't be here without them. Big thanks to those guys. They've been a big help with me all year. And you guys, thank you. GSRC, you guys, I love the broadcast. I look forward to it. But yeah, and Mike too, for organizing the league. I look forward to the races. Every race, I look forward to it. Yeah, thank you guys.
Well, thank you for coming in and talking to us. And that was Lionel Callisto, 5th place finisher and your 2017 champion here in the Pacific Majors of the Drivers' Championship. Speaking of the 2017 Pacific Majors, it's now over, which means 2018 is coming up. And of course, we want to talk to Mike Willett, the organizers of the Pacific Majors, a little bit about that because we've already talked about it. It's not going to be the Pacific Majors next year, Mike. We understand that the name change comes with a lot of changes.
Hey, boys. Yes, absolutely. How you guys doing?
We're doing great today. How are you feeling after what was a thrilling final race?
Oh, man, absolutely. I was in the meeting and before the race, letting everybody know that I was going to be admitting the race myself, which is probably my least favorite job of everything that we do in running the series. But we've had some vacancies, unfortunately, from the official perspective, and so I thought with being the championship week, I needed to be in there, and those guys gave me almost nothing to do, which was I was so thankful for that.
I can imagine. Yeah, we only saw that one real black flag out there that we caught anyways. Now, talking about next season, we understand that we've got the schedule. I'm not sure if we could bring that up on screen. Let's see if, yes, Amjad's going to, there we go. Did you want to talk to us a little bit about what's going to be happening here?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll talk about my personal highlights, and then if you guys have any questions or anything you wanted to discuss, go for it. But obviously, with the combination of bringing the whole world together, having the Atlantic, having the international, and having the European majors join the Pacific majors next year, we wanted to create a schedule that was obviously still the most important and prestigious races in the world, but hopefully would draw in or would be interesting to people all over the world. And I think we accomplished that. So the theme of the season for next year is that it's a classic, and we've got really 3 classic races. First, which will be the very first race of the year, which is 97 days away from now, will be the Classic Daytona 2.4. And we're going to be using the old Audi and the old Nissan for our first race of the year. The second one is going to be the, I know this will be good news for you, Joe. I tried to get the 49 in the schedule, but we went with the 79 instead. We're going to do the Classic British Grand Prix at Silverstone with the Lotus 79. So I think that's fitting, given Mario drove that car. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And we're driving the Silver Crown for the first time ever in the series. That was something that Wayne Hutchison really angled for, and I'm glad we did it. So we're going to do the Old Copper Classic is the third race out on the season.
Well, that is going to be a great few combinations in there, and I'm so glad to hear that the 79 is making it in. We call the official 79 series here on GSRC, and those always put on fantastic shows. And also, I'll be honest, I'm incredibly thrilled that you're using the Nissan and the Audi. We've heard a lot of drivers talk about wanting to have a 24-hour race for those cars at Daytona, and I think that's going to give a few people their wish. So, Sean is pointing out we do have the Lionheart series that runs the 79 as well. They have a retro series that runs then. Thank you for coming and talking to us. This is a fantastic schedule. We're looking forward to getting to cover it next season. And again, great job on another Pacific Majors. You put on one that went right down to the end. You have to be pleased that the championship for the drivers came down to the very last race.
Definitely. Obviously, last year Jason stunk it up a little bit and cleared us before the final race. But my math shows me that Lionel's going to get it by 17 points. And not to be overlooked, Joshua had an awesome season and a solid third.
Your math, not Soup's, right? Sorry, Soup.
Oh, jeez, come on. Season's almost over. I thought
enjoy your pizza bill, okay? All right. With that, thanks for coming and talking to us, Mike. Looking forward to next season, and we're going to let you go.
All right. Just one last thing real quick. I just want to thank you guys. I oftentimes get told that you guys are the best in the business, and I would agree. And I'm so glad that we get to keep you next year in the Pacific, and really, really looking forward to it.
Same here. One quick question. We've got one from the Peanut Gallery. When do signups open for next season?
They open tomorrow. That'll be for season pass holders from this last year. They have a 1 week. So everybody listening, you got 1 week to sign up to retain your number from this year. Obviously, you can sign up beyond that if you want to, but your number is not protected past the first week. Starting 1 week from tomorrow, it opens up to everybody. And just as an FYI, I'm hoping for 1,000 plus signups worldwide.
That is an incredible number.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Yeah, we are going to see a lot of drivers next season. However, as he mentioned, we are covering the Pacific Series, as there will be 4 different series running simultaneously. So whatever time zone you're in, definitely come out for the majors next year. You've seen what kind of show they can put on. With that, We want to thank Mike Willett once again for talking to us and for organizing this series, and all of his team behind him that helped put this show on. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Bill, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, the next race, as was mentioned, we're going to Daytona, but with the Nissan and the Audi. Definitely don't miss that retro 24-hour race. That's going to be an interesting flavor for that one, trying to keep those cars together for the whole 24 hours. That'll again be Sunday on February 4th. Now, I have marked on here at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure if that is the correct time, but we'll double check on that. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next season, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.